跟在前面，这样我才拍得到那个字。
好，声音我降了，你可以。
好，好，等一下我开麦克风。Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin the program today in just a few minutes. Please take your seats. Thank you very much. 各位与会的来宾，我们接下来再过几分钟即将开始今天的大会，请各位就座，谢谢。Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we will begin the program very shortly. Please take your seats. Thank you. 各位与会的来宾，各位朋友们，我们即将要开始我们今天的大会，请各位就座，谢谢各位的配合。Also, we'd like to let you know that simultaneous interpretation is provided in the program today. Please use your interpretation headset to listen to the interpretation. Thank you. 各位与会的来宾，各位朋友们，我们即将开始今天的大会，请各位就座，也提醒大家将您的行动装置转为震动或者是静音的模式，谢谢大家的配合。Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin the program today. Please take your seats and also please switch your mobile devices to silent or vibration mode. Thank you for your cooperation. We're about to begin.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, ministers. Good morning, everyone in the back there as well. This is APCER Hotspot 2025. We're going to start. We have an almost full house in spite of the terrible weather. Thank you for persisting. That is great. On behalf of the organizers, the three ministries of the economy, of agriculture, and of the environment, and on behalf of Circular Taiwan Network, it is my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you here. My name is Mike van der Vijver, but you can dispense with the surname. It is Dutch and therefore hardly pronounceable. My task will be to moderate the plenary sessions that we will have here today and tomorrow. And since my Mandarin is, no, not even that, it's Yidian, I'm in the company of my colleague Grace Huang, who is bilingual and therefore highly necessary. Grace.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Grace Huang. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. 非常欢迎大家一起来参加 APCER Hotspot 2025。这个是我们这个 Hotspot 第一次来到亚太地区举办，非常高兴可以在台湾跟各位相见。那我们这次的报名人数呢是超出预期哦，超过500位来自50个国家的与会者一起来报名，非常非常的热闹。再一次诚挚的欢迎大家 ，A warm welcome to you all。This
event is live streamed, at least this morning is. So in the back we've got cameras to make sure that we can increase the reach of this important topic. As we can see, we've got an almost full house. So the topic is definitely of interest to a lot of people from all walks of life. Let me ask you a question. Who was here? Raise your hands if you were with us for the opening reception. Could you raise your hands if you were? Excellent. And who of you intertwined some of those clothes? Yes, quite a few. You can see what happened with them over here. This, ladies and gentlemen, I think is a prime example of the regeneration of materials. Instead of creating a backdrop with inks which are harmless and materials which are going to be thrown away afterwards, we invited an artist, James Tang, and he made this work of art which is bearing the title Weaving Mountain. And let me just quote from what James wrote about it. He says, participants of the APCER and Hotspot 2025 twist worn garments into yarn with their own hands and weave them into new fabric which merges with recycled polystyrene. More than an act of recycling, it is a practice of regeneration, where fibers, gestures, and time intertwine in a shared rhythm between matter and life. Could we have a round of applause for James Tang and his work of art, please? Thank you. James is around during breaks, so you can talk to him. After the event, this will make its way into the Taiwan Design Center so that it'll be kept for posterity.
好，那接下来呢，我们要用最符合这场活动精神的方式来开场哦。我们今天特别邀请到了来自小学还有高中的4位学生代表，稍后呢，他们就会一起来向洪部长，还有向黄董事长跟2位交流，还有提问。从年轻世代的角度呢，来看待循环的问题。那为什么会邀请他们来上台一起参与呢？因为我们今天要讨论的循环经济，还有永续环境的努力，不只是为了我们这个世代，我们更是为了他们的未来。所以我们接下来呢，就请大家以热烈的掌声来欢迎4位学生代表到台上来哦。So we like to welcome the students that will be joining us on stage. 我们请欢迎大家2位小学生呢是上实国小于灿彤老师带队哦，欢迎这个5年级的范新瑜跟这个蔡继璇。那2位高中生的代表呢，分别是台中2中的邱宝从，还有小明女中的李芷嫣，请给大家给他们一个掌声。
Welcome, Charles.
同时呢，我们也欢迎环境部的彭启明部长，还有台湾循环基金会的黄玉珍董事长。好，请2位就座。首先呢，我们要邀请2位来自上实国小的同学们哦，这个新宇还有季璇，有准备关于这个循环还有资源跟废弃物的问题，要来请教部长。那我们就把时间交给2位。So let me now give the floor to our 2 elementary school students who traveled to Taipei very early this morning.
Wait. What time did you get up?
几点起床？
To get here? 4 a.m.
4点起床，来搭巴士来台北。
Can we have an extra round of applause for them, please? Thank you.
好，那就请新瑜跟季璇来帮我们提问。
部长好，董事长好，各位与会来宾们好。大家可以看到这里的照片，那张照片是学长姐在捡垃圾的照片。而这张则是大家在做资源回收的照片。这样的情况告诉我们，台湾资源回收教育做得很确实。我们在学校会分为一般垃圾、资源回收物和厨余3类。其中，资源回收物里的塑胶容器，则会再依材质细分为7类。回收物在被清洁队回收后，回收商会分类完会依材质卖给不同的处理人员，所以只要我们把分类做好，就能妥善回收再利用，使废弃物变成资源，永续环保。所以我想问的问题是，即使我们有认真的做资源回收，台湾的回收率来到58%，还被大家称作回收天才，但因为现代生活方式大幅改变，导致垃圾量增长还是太快速。我想请问，我们在未来还可以怎么做？
谢谢哈。
部长，不好意思，我们还有另外一位也有提问哦，2位都是这个上实国小5年级的学生。So another question.
我也有问题，我是蔡继璇。我们有看到每年有13亿吨的食物被浪费这个资讯。食物浪费同样也会造成温室气体的排放，所以我们在学校都会尽量把食物吃完。去家乐福时也会尽量买即期的食品，减少食物的浪费。所以我想问的问题是，关于农业事务产业方面，现在面临的困境是什么？而且社会上不同的人，像是我们学生、台下的大家，还有台上的长官们，在未来可以做出什么努力和改变呢？谢谢。
好，谢谢。
好，谢谢大家好，我回答2位同学的问题。第一点呢，我觉得我们现在做到58是全世界大概排名第5名，但是我认为还有进步的空间，因为我也看到在国外有一些叫做零废弃的小镇的地方。它可以到80，但是就是分得再细。 那第二个呢，就是说我们在实际上使用的时候，是不是能够减少不必要的可以循环重复的使用？像我最近其实到南部参加一个浪人祭，都是年轻朋友参加的浪人祭，我看到他们的吃的餐盒都是用循环的餐盒、饮料杯，就因此减少了很多的垃圾。所以我会觉得从源头减量，这是我们要积极要推动的这个事情。所以我是觉得我们现在做得很好。我们现在也准备要定到一个新的目标，希望把回收率可以再提升一些，这个我们会来努力。我们这个政府呢，会从这个资源循环的推动法这个修法，能够把这个源头能够做一些改善。那第二个呢，这个剩食的问题、厨余的问题，其实我们在座现在有经济部、有农业部，还有环境部。经济部他们很努力哦。我们现在很多的便利商店，他们透过商业机制、市场的手段，如果呢有厨余快要过期了，他们会用一种方式。可能比较便宜，或是照顾这种弱势的族群来推动。那农业部呢，也有相关的这个厨余剩食的一个措施，来鼓励大家能够将餐盘的食物吃掉。那我们环境部呢，就解决这个厨余最后往哪里走。所以我们3个部会呢，的确是联手要来解决这个事。但是我是觉得，我不知道国外怎么样，台湾可以说是buffet的天堂。buffet 的天堂，我们的 buffet 是全世界最好吃的，所以我是希望能够从源头上，我们还是要商业的行为，但是是不是在食物的选择上，让大家呢不要吃得过分，超过你过量，就不会有剩食的问题。谢谢。
好，谢谢部长。然后我们是不是也谢谢这个上实国小的新宇跟灿彤？谢谢。
There's a second topic which we would like to broach. And for this, we have our high school students who also took part in a school project on the circular economy with their teacher, Ariel, who is here with us. Delphi and Peter, could you tackle the second topic, please?
各位长官、各位贵宾，大家好，我是小明女中的李芷嫣。
我是台中2中的邱宝从。
我们知道台湾的机车密集度是全世界最高的。机车为我们的生活带来方便的同时，也排放了许多废气进入我们的空气当中。其实，脚踏车也是一个非常方便的通勤工具，而共享单车的服务也可以鼓励民众多多骑脚踏车，代替要排放废气的机车以及汽车。下一页，谢谢。大家可以看一下这张图，这张图是我家站点，我家附近的 U-Bike 站点。可以看到台湾已经有非常多的 U-Bike 站点了，而身为高中生的我们也常常会需要利用到这些资源。有时候我放学回家会使用手机 App 来租借脚踏车，这样就不用担心忘记带悠游卡而无法租借脚踏车回家了。我们可以点开 App， 我们可以看到除了扫码租车的服务，还有一个减碳存折的服务。点开来，我们可以看到最近我们骑的脚踏车为这个地球减少了多少的碳排，让日常生活中的这些小举动也可以充满了成就感。
透过日常通勤的脚踏车，以及每次归还之后显示的碳排减少数量，还有政府政策的施行，像是前30分钟的免费行驶，都让我们能知道，原来减碳并不是这么遥不可及的事。我们也发现社会上有许多资源可以采取类似以租赁代替购买的方式进行。那么，我想请问各位来宾与长官们，是怎么看待这件事情的呢
Charles, that one's for you.
Thank you. 听得见吗 Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I like to share in English first, a little quickly. That is, I'm very happy, and also it's a sort of a breath of fresh air, having the little kids to be talking about circular economy. The reason is circular economy is a generational issue. We're sitting here actually as a step toward sort of what I call generational responsibility that we are supposed to assume. So for me, these youngsters or friends of ours from high schools and elementary schools are what I call the circular seeds. Okay, we need to plant that seeds early on, so the future will be different. Anyway, 回答刚才这2位同学的问题啊，其实非常有趣的一个问题，就是说，我们今天在台湾，我们很多的消费事实上都是过度的消费。那今天荷兰也在这里啊，荷兰的这个 脚踏车密集度是全世界最高的。我要提的意思是什么？是其实我们对很多物质，我们都没有好好的使用它，因为我们是在一个线性经济下所谓的拥有权的概念。一个人要拥有更多的车子，才表示他是成功的。所有的事情也是一样，要有第二个房子才是成功的。但是在这样的一个模式之下是无法永续的。那我想回答他们的问题是，未来我们要重新去检视，尤其是从我们这一代开始去思考说，我们所需要的东西不需要拥有这么多，我们需要的其实是它的使用权就好了。我想这是第一点跟您分享的。第二点，我刚刚看的这个报告，我觉得这个分析非常好。但是这边有另外一块的东西，另外一个议题，我们要跟大家分享的是，一部脚踏车的碳排制造本身也有碳排，所以你其实不需要这么多。一部车子也有碳排，所以它的碳排不是只有在使用的时候产生碳排。我希望我们开始去了解，就是产品本身后端的一些碳排。那这个后端的碳排，在现有的所谓的汰旧换新的商业模式里面，我们往往就很快的把一些产品淘汰掉。所以快速的淘汰那个所谓的这个汰旧换新，加速汰旧换新本身也是一个高碳的行为。所以这边这个题目，我想做一个结尾，就是说从使用的角度也是这个问题，从拥有的角度都有这样这个问题。以上。
Thank you, Minister Pang. Thank you, Charles.
好，谢谢我们，谢谢董事长，还有谢谢部长，我们也是不是掌声来谢谢我们4位的同学。
Could you all stand up,
最后呢，
please?
邀请大家一起合影。We'd like to invite you
Put the
all for a
microphones in the
photo.
chairs.
麦克风放后面就可以。哎，我们要合照。对，要合照。好，请大家看向我们前方的摄影镜头。So please look at the camera in the center and smile. One more. 好，邀请大家给我们4位同学们一个掌声，也谢谢，谢谢部长，谢谢董事长。
Shall we leave stage? Thank you.
谢谢。好，我们请董事长回座，请部长留步来为我们致辞。So I'd like to invite the minister to say a few words. 可以。So the minister would like to use this table.
Go ahead. Sure.
I'm sorry because my colleague prepared a very wonderful speech for me. In the beginning, I want to have a free speech, but I think the material is very wonderful, so I will try to be an organizer of the day with the Ministry of Economy and also Ministry of Agriculture. So I would like to speak Mandarin Chinese to by the local issues. 各位贵宾还有现场的朋友，大家早安，大家好。今天呢，能够参加2025亚太循环经济论坛的热点这个 APCER and Hotspot 2025的开幕式，来见证这个国际的盛会，我非常感到荣幸。这个是循环经济全世界最大的循环经济的活动，循环经济热点首次移到亚洲来。那在这里呢，有50位包含了各个国家的政策的领袖、政府官员、NGO， 还有产业的代表、专家学者齐聚到这个地方，有超过500位。特别呢是有96位的一个讲者，能够来分享宝贵的意见跟想法。我也代表我们台湾，来感谢欢迎大家，谢谢大家，表达最诚挚的一个敬意。那本次论坛呢，总共规划了18场的相关的论坛，有6大的产业的实际的参访，其实从昨天就开始进行了。那还有4场的媒合交流的活动，所以我们呢就是希望一件事情，不是谈而已，我们是希望把好主意、循环的好主意，把它变成我们政府上面的一个好治理。最后呢，要把它变成是一个好生意。我们认为只有好生意，才可以让资源循环变成真正的循环经济。所以要如何呢？把它实践， 各位可以从台湾的例子就可以看得到我们发展的未来。那我们主要的这3个里面呢，我觉得最关键的，以政府的角度就是治理，这个 governance， 这个是一个承先启后的角色，因为我们发现全世界各个国家，只有治理好的国家，其实循环经济才是真的做得好，否则的话只是一个宣传一个活动而已。所以治理呢是希望能够让商业模式可以持续的往前，特别能够迈向更高的循环的目标。那我们赖清德总统从去年520上任之后，最重要的是在总统府成立一个国家气候变迁的对策委员会。那总统是亲自来主持这个会议，每3个月主持一次，每个月我们都要跟他提出很多的报告。那循环经济呢，在我们台湾里面也是直接总统来直接报告的一个很大的一个项目。那这里面呢，就包含了不是只有我们很巧妙的、很努力的把循环经济跟净零把它连结在一起。那这个里面呢，包含了塑胶、纺织、电子、建筑、农业，是我们5大的核心的领域。当然，我们还有一个未来最重要的，就是稀有的贵金属能够内循环，甚至在国际上扮演一个角色。所以我们透过跨部会的合作、产业的参与，还有地方的落实，来逐步来形成比较完整，而且有韧性的一个循环的体系。所以我们这几年呢，台湾在这种所谓的废弃物资源化、循环材料创新，还有社区型，特别是社区型这个 local 的这种社区型的循环治理，都有一些显著的一个成果。那我们这一次呢，对于我们官方而言，我们很重要的是提出了台湾循环经济路径图的这个草案。那当然，我是说的是草案，是我们先列出来一个方向，我们希望，如同我们在去年年底，我们花了大概半年的时间定了一个净零路径图之外，我们希望也有一个循环经济的路径图，然后结合净零跟循环来实践我们2050年的长期目标。那这个里面呢，当然一定是跨部会的，所以我也特别感谢经济部还有农业部，我们3个部会鼎力的合作，然后提出一个相关的一个方案。这里面呢就包含了绿色设计，包含了塑胶、纺织、高科技跟能源，我们会有一个全方位的一个行动。所以我们这个路径图呢，各位可以用这个路径图，我们可以跟国际来交流，也欢迎国际的专家们给我们台湾更多的意见。那也跟各位报告，我们其实现在呢有2个法案，叫做资源循环的推动法，还有废弃物清理法，正在行政院的修法的流程当中。我们希望未来这几个月就可以送到我们的国会来进行修正，这个会是一个台湾对于循环经济是一个很大的治理还有法规上面一个依据。那这次呢，移师到台湾，移师到亚洲，而且首要的点就在台湾，更说明台湾不只是一个参与者，而且是可以值得国际参考，而且可以来合作的一个伙伴。我们很乐于很开放的，能够让国际社会可以了解我们台湾做了哪些事情，而且呢，未来我们要做些什么事情，我们也期待有更多的伙伴跟着我们一起前行。我们也期待呢，循环经济不是只有一个国家做得好的。像我自己心里面就觉得荷兰是一个很棒的国家，做了很多有意思的这个点。那很多的国家呢都有不一样的在地化的因素，所以这个循环经济呢是一个需要大家一起合作，需要一个全球伙伴的关系，共同努力的一个使命。那我们台湾呢也跟大家承诺，我们一定会扮演一个亚太循环经济的重要的伙伴。我们会在我们特别是在我们的 ICT 的产业能够持续的努力，以这个为主轴。当然，我们过去呢也经历了很多废弃物的处理，现在呢我们希望把废弃物全部把它当成资源来看待。当然，这个需要很多的一个努力，如同我讲的是一个点子。我们现在是要到这个落实，把它变成治理。最重要的是，我们期待在座的伙伴变成一个生意的一个好的机会。所以我们希望呢，跟各国能够推动一个能够兼顾环境、社会、经济的永续未来。所以各位朋友们，其实这次呢，在台北举办的这个论坛，象征着亚太循环合作的新篇章。所以我期待呢，未来这几天，我们不仅交换想法，也可以形成一个合作的一个方案。不是只有一个灵感带回去，让大家能够心灵上的提升、想法上的提升，更要有一个行动，让我们论坛呢成为这个循环经济的解放的起点。也只有透过大家的携手努力，成为亚太实践循环经济的一个典范。 Finally, I would say something because all of you watch the outside. It's raining all day long. You should be wondering, there's no typhoon hit Taiwan. Why is it raining all day long? And in the beginning, I want to say that the war situation is passed away. But tell you a bad news. Last night, a low pressure just in the east of the Taiwan. Another low pressure. So probably you will become a typhoon recently. We don't know because it's a low pressure and very small. And it triggers lots of the heavy rain. And the rain, the typhoon is, right now this situation, the typhoon is in Philippines, not in Taiwan. But why we have a so heavy rain and continuous rain all day long? Because the moisture coupled with the monsoon flow from the east. Because the autumn sometimes is the best season in Taiwan. You can feel it's very comfortable, not so hot, and very dry. It's a very wonderful weather situation. But this time, the typhoon bring the moisture coupled with the monsoon flow. So this is the coupling rain. And but I can say it's a friendship rain. Because we all organize together just like a rain today. And in our culture, the rain brings prosperity, money. The rain brings the money. And without rain, droughts comes. So does a shortage of wealth. So the rain is very important for us. And I think it's also everywhere. But this rain is not heavy rain. Just in the next few days, you can just light rain. You should take the umbrella. And also, maybe sometimes it's drizzle. You can take a hat. And I think such kind of things, cooperations, just like this rain, friendship, working together, and with us at APCER, by sending several days of rain, and a wonderful sign that our efforts to advance the circular economy will move forward smoothly and successfully. Thank you very much.
谢谢部长，请部长留步哦。我们接下来要合影留念。Thank you, the minister, for giving us those remarks and also giving us a weather highlight. We'd like to invite the following guests for a photograph. 我们接下来呢，邀请以下的贵宾一起来合影哦。我们邀请资源循环署的赖莹莹署长 ，Director General 赖莹莹 of the Resource Circulation Administration。再次邀请循环台湾基金会的黄玉珍董事长 ，Director 黄玉珍 ，Charles Huang of CTN。也邀请经济部江文若次长 Cynthia Jiang, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Economic Affairs。也邀请农业部的胡忠一次长 Deputy Minister 胡忠一 of the Ministry of Agriculture。教育部赖国伟政务次长 Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Education 刘国伟。工程会徐兆熙副处长 Deputy Director 徐兆熙 of the Public Construction Commission。Please join us on stage for the photograph. 好，那我们请各位来宾看向我们会场中央的摄影镜头。So everybody, please look at the cameras in the center of the room, and give us your most beautiful smile. All right. So now please look to your. Okay, one more in the center. Now, all right, a couple more. 好，我们请这个台上的贵宾比这个循环的这个手势。So this means circulation. For the guests that are visiting Taiwan, I'm sure you know by now how much we love to take photos and also to use signs when we take photos. 好，我们再次谢谢舞台上的所有贵宾。Thank you very much. 请各位回座。And before we proceed, we'd like to take a house photo. We have a full house today, so our photographer will be capturing everybody from the stage. 那我们接下来呢，要从舞台上来拍摄一张全场的大合影，来捕捉我们在2025 APCER Hotspot 非常难得的画面。 我们先拍一张，那稍后呢也会请大家这个把各位的名牌给拿起来。So everybody, please look at the camera on the stage. 请大家看上我们舞台上的摄影镜头。
And careful.
于老师，在这边请。All right, everybody, smile. 请大家露出您最美丽的笑容。好，那接下来第二张，我们请大家把自己手上的这个名牌呢给拿起来，让我们的镜头可以捕捉到。Hold up your badge, please. 好，没有名牌的话，就是可以比自己喜欢的手势也可以。循环吗？循环的手势。好的，那接下来这张照片呢，我们要请大家比出循环的手势啊！我请我的同事示范给大家看，循环的手势要怎么比。The next photo, circulation. So make 2 circles with your hands. All right. 好，谢谢大家 ，beautiful. 可以了。
拍回去，拍回去，拍回去。Watch your step.
Thank you, everyone, for that. The photo moment is an important ritual. And in addition to the ritual, I'd like to give you a bit more context about why we're actually here. I'll try to make it short, but a meeting like this is a powerful moment of communication, where we get a lot of people together, and what we would like to happen in this event is to go beyond just listening to presentations. This is a moment where change needs to happen. It is a vital moment for the Asia-Pacific in the development of the circular economy. So let me give you a little bit of background about how change happens. And maybe I can take you back to the Second World War, to the Netherlands, where a lot of people, the Netherlands, my country, where a lot of people hid Jews in their houses. Everybody knows the story about Anne Frank, right? So in these Dutch houses, there were places where people hid Jews from the Nazi Germans who occupied the country. And the odd thing is, you could think, why would people do this? It's risky. It's dangerous to do that. So what made people change their minds about actually making available the space in their house for these Jews? Was it because they were good people? Historians looked into it. That wasn't the real reason. Was it because they had a nice big house and there was enough space? It wasn't that. Was it maybe because they knew some of these people from their communities? It wasn't that either. The answer is disarmingly simple to why people did this in the Netherlands. And this wasn't just in the Netherlands, this was throughout Europe, as historiographic research has shown. You know why they did this? Because they were asked. Someone asked them, do you want to take in a couple of Jews who are persecuted and you can help preventing them from going into the gas chambers? Yes, I will. But they had to be asked. So now we're going to ask you something. It's not as dangerous as what happened in the Second World War, so that's good. And for this, I need help because we're not going to ask you. The most important people in this room are going to ask you. Could I have Jay and Andy, please, on stage?
好，我们邀请上实国小的刘炳杰跟林绿安。
Hello, Jay. Hello, Andy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, they're here to ask your commitment. Your commitment to work as hard as you can during these 2 days to make change. Okay? Go ahead, guys.
大家好，我是刘炳杰，我很开心来到这次的会议。我希望在场的贵宾们 都可以找出循环经济的好方法，来保护地球，不让地球的温度持续上升，气候变迁。大家加油！
Okay, wait a second, because we're going to get the same question in English for those who don't know how it's said. It's equally important for them.
Hello everyone, my name is Andy. I am very delighted to be here at this conference. I hope the adults here can work harder to make the better world. And when we grow up, it will be our turn to take on these challenges. So, can you wave your card?
Can you hold up high in the air? Higher, higher. And as a sign of commitment, can you all wave it to them and say, yes, yes, we'll do that? Okay.
Louder.
Harder, harder, more. Yeah, that's good, that's good. Have we got that? Live stream, if you got it? Good. Now you're committed. Yeah, it's on live stream, and they've noticed. And they're young, their memories are good. Great, thanks guys.
Fighting!
Right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I think with that, we're ready to actually go into the program that we have in mind for you. And for that, we'd like to invite a panel on stage shortly. However, when we do that, we want to have a bit of an idea of who's in the audience, okay? So we're going to get a Slido poll on, and for that, you need to read the QR code, which is shortly going to appear on screen. Could you read the QR code? This way you also all get used to using Slido, which we're going to use regularly in the course of these 2 days. Can you give me the second one? Yeah. Yes. Oh, and there's also, I was just whispered, there's also Wi-Fi for those of you who don't have a Taiwanese phone with 4 or 5G. So please read the QR code, and then you get access here to Slido. And the first question is there about the geographic distribution of our participants. So please answer. We can see that right now there's a vast majority of people who come from the Asia Pacific. And then you got about 30% from Europe, America, others are gaining ground. And 1% of people from Africa. Who's here from Africa? Raise your hands. Yes, over there with the Ministry of Exchange. Thank you for coming. Long way. And great to have people from Africa working on the circular economy as well. Which country are you from? Ghana. Okay, thank you. Lovely. Let's have a bit of an idea of the affiliations of everybody. So what organizations do you work for? That's the second question, which is now going to appear on screen. Government, NGO, corporate, and academia, or again, others. Okay. Vast majority, not a vast majority, but the majority is corporate. 11% others. Who represents others? Raise your hand. What do you do, ma'am? The lady over there, you raised your hand. What do you do? Foreign Representative Office. Okay. Yeah, you brought all these people here. Thank you. Lovely, thank you. Good. Third question. What ages do we have in the room? We've got a couple of really young people. Let's see what other ages we have. Okay, that's interesting. The majority of people here are between 36 and 50, so these are the decision makers. You're at the age where you can make decisions. To get them up probably with the 51, 64, that's 62% of people here are, generally speaking, in the age where they can make decisions in their organizations. This is a really good sign. Thank you for joining. Meanwhile, you see behind me that the stage has been prepared for our first panel. For that, I'd like to invite 4 panelists on stage. We're going to dive into this panel mainly from a geographical viewpoint. So we've got a nice diversity of people from some of those countries that you saw before. First of all, I'd like to invite back on stage Taiwan's Minister of the Environment, Peng Qiming, but he may still be doing some interviews in the back, so let me proceed with our second guest, Professor Shinsuke Murakami, the professor at the Graduate School of Engineering from Tokyo University. Could you join me on stage, please, Professor? Could we have a round of applause for our first panelist? Thank you. We have with us the Managing Director of the International Council for Circular Economy, ICCA, from India, Shalini Bala. Shalini, welcome. We also have the Executive Director for Asia of WRAP, which is a very nice acronym, by the way, meaning the Waste and Resources Action Programme. Welcome, Stephanie Downs. There's microphones on your chairs. There's water, and this allows me to. Do you mind if I'm not going to touch the bit where you're going to touch it with your mouth. Don't worry. You can sit there. The minister can take the last seat. So, if you use one of these, this is an actual straw. This is no longer a plastic straw. This is a straw made from straw. Yeah. So it is one of the examples that we have. In the way in which the event has been organized, where we've gone to great lengths to choosing materials and choosing processes which are a testimony to the way the circular economy works. All kinds of innovations, either from Taiwan and sometimes from abroad, and now the Minister has joined us. Thank you. Yes, your clicker, Minister?
Yeah.
Would you like to kick off, please?
Yeah.
With your first part of the presentation. The Minister is going to take us on a bit of a tour around what happened up to now in Taiwan, and I think it's a bit exemplary for what's happened in a lot of places in the world. Minister?
Yeah.
The turn is yours.
Thank you, all of you, the guests from here. And I would like to say some tour review about Taiwan, about recycling works. And I think before that, all of the West, just like a mountain, huge mountain. And we want to dampening it into a mountain. And I think it's everywhere in the world. And however, long time ago in Taiwan, we tried to use the incinerator to burn it. And also to generate the power. Yeah, I think it's a traditional way. We already did this. And we from the dumping to incinerator and the landfill. That's what we did right now. And however, in Taiwan, the waste disposal to recycling, from recycling to EPR. Right now, we want to do the EPR, but it's not easy. We need the market. Need the ecosystem happen. So right now we are trying to do this. There were some good case, but I think that is not everywhere. But we want to do this. And right now our waste recycling rate in Taiwan is about 58 to 60. It depends on the different county. Some county is wonderful, and some county is quite low. It depends on the president of the county. It depends on the situation. Some county is very wonderful, and right now it's number 5 in the world. And because in Taiwan, just I mentioned, we have the net zero goal. The net zero goal in Taiwan, 2030 is 28 plus or minus 2 compared to the year 2005, and 2030 is 38. To plus minus 2 is about 36 to 40. It's the goal, net zero ambition goal in Asia, just second to Japan. It's not easy job because in traditional our energy right now about 85% is from the fossil fuel. So we want to make a huge transition. The energy transition is a burden and a challenge for us. And however, our president and our cabinet, we want to do this because we think it's our opportunity and also our responsibility for this. And if we want to do this, and we should have lots of the goal. the former president, President Tsai, and she's wonderful. She set up lots of goals, but we still think we still have some gap about this one. So right now we have the carbon reduction flagship action plan. It's a massive action plan. We have 20 action plan right now. The circulation also is one of our key job for this one, and. Recently, because 2 months ago, I got a phone call from the German Ministry of Environment, Minister of Environment, and he sent me a German green tech report. It's very wonderful information, and I talked to my colleague. Can we, based on the methodology of the Germany, I think it's also in Europe, in EU, and because they have the methodology how to measure the green technology. The green technology also covers the circular economy. So the first number I will give you the gross value added of our circular green technology is about 512 billion, 500 billion Taiwanese dollars. It's a huge money. And the number one is circular economy. And also the export is also about almost 200 billion. And also there was 380,000 employees. So it's a wonderful number right now. And when we look at the number one is a circular economy. It's the same in Germany. And more than 100,000 people doing the circular economy job. So it's a real number. You never saw this before. And also the number is in Taiwan dollars is 168,000 dollars. And that means 1688. It's a very wonderful number. 1688. Yes, it's a very good number for us. And we make a comparison with Germany, and I think the Germany probably is a very wonderful circular economy in Europe. I think in Taiwan, our circular economy is quite strong. The number one, 33% in green technology. The second is a renewable energy system. It's make a transition. That transition means right now we make a transition to renewable energy. So we want to make the pie bigger and bigger, and the different compared to Germany, because our methodology also cover the green industry supply chain, all of the chain together. So I would like to open our mind, because our team spend a lot of time about the methodology, how to measure and to calculate from the number. And I think in the future, we can work with the German government to study the methodology. We would like to open all of you, because sometimes before that, when I ask my team, what's our number, what's our goal, it's unclear. It's by assumption. But it's really from the real statistical number. So I think in the future we will open our mind to do this and make a quick comparison. And we also have promote lots of the circular economy. Later on you can look at some of the booths. Most of them are from the Ministry of Agriculture and also our team. And we want to make industry, so we have alliance more than 200 companies. It's bigger and bigger now. Lots of the companies want to join us because they want to find opportunities. And we want to use some tools to help them. For example, digital tracking and R&D and also upgrading. And also we want to promote them in the world. And right now, this time we want to open our mind to about, we have a Taiwan circular economy roadmap. But it's only a concept. And the concept means we open our mind to get a number. So later on, I will show you the number. And however, I can say we have the ambition. We want to do the hub of the circular economy in Asia. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Bond. So a couple of things to pick up on there. One is the roadmap. The Minister will come back later this morning to talk more about the roadmap, about what you can contribute to the roadmap, so we'll explain that later on. The other thing, maybe for foreigners, good to know, the Minister mentioned this figure of, what was it, 1668, I believe. In Taiwan and in general in the Chinese world, there's a lot of superstition around numbers. So maybe foreigners, I had to get accustomed to this when I started working here. But for those of you who are from abroad, this is a very auspicious number. 1688, all of those numbers are good. Some numbers are bad. Don't ask me now, but in breaks, anybody from Taiwan will be very willing to explain to you why certain numbers are good and others are bad. Good. Thank you, Minister. I'd like to immediately move on to Professor Shizuke Murakami from the Tokyo University. Many countries in Asia look not only to Taiwan, but also to Japan as a pace setter, as a reference point. So it'll be great to hear from Professor Murakami what's happening in Japan. A new series of policy measures are underway, and it's particularly interesting to hear how those conversations are conducted in Japanese society with all the stakeholders. So, Professor Murakami, here's your slides, and there's your timer.
Okay, it's on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see it over here.
Yeah. My name is Shinsuke Murakami from the University of Tokyo, and I'm doing a little bit job on the government and council meeting and something, so maybe that's the reason why I was invited here. But anyway, so I'm speaking just on behalf of me today. I'm not representing in any sense government, just please understand that. So anyway, I'm today trying to introduce the current situation of the transition in Japan. And then, just let's start with the brief history. Just after the World War II, we had the...
Can you hold the microphone slightly closer to your mic?
Okay.
You're very soft-spoken.
Okay, thanks. We started preparing some legislative system in the year 1954. But after that, we had a huge event in the year of 1970, which was the Waste Management Act, and that provided the basis of Japanese current waste management system, such as the definition of the waste, also the introduction of the incinerators, and asking the people to, contribute to the sorted collection and blah, blah, blah. And after that, we gradually introduced the individual recycling laws for the automobiles, for electronics, and so many things since the late 1990s. And a huge event happened in the year 2000 when we established the fundamental law for establishing the sound material cycle society. And after that, we decided to make a plan for the once 5 or 6 years since then. But as you may notice that, we insisted the society instead of the economy. And that's a good thing, but maybe that we should emphasize a little bit more onto the economy side. And that's kind of reflect. Now, but anyway, after that, last year, we published the 5th fundamental plan on this. And it's clearly said that CE transition is the core national strategy. And actually, before that, the Ministry of Economy, Trade, Industry also published the Circular Economy Vision 2020, and also they published some kind of a strategy in 2023. So now, that the whole government and also the private sector is going to, go toward to the CE transition. And then, for example, we prepared some kind of private government academic partnerships, a lot actually. We should organize it, but there are a lot for now. And also, Japan tried to contribute to the international work such as the ISO or WCSD. And as you can see in the left-hand side diagram, that's how the plans are evolved. So in the horizontal axis, they plotted the level of the contribution to the environmental issues. So now you can see that, our initial plans, first plan, second plan, third plan, gradually contributed to the environmental issues. But now, we are focusing more economy side in the vertical axis. And in the plan, we have the 5 core plans, and that's okay. But the important point is maybe that in the right-hand side, we are considering about the domestic regions. Each region have each of course the characteristics, so we try to utilize, maximize the kind of characteristics. But while we are going to expand our system beyond the boundary to the different countries, so trying to establish more bigger and more efficient resource circulation in whole Asian region, maybe on the globe as a whole. And then the issue now. So the one point is, we too much focusing on the recycling actually. We have a good system for the waste management, recycling, and very complex system consists of so many small size and SMEs, So there is a huge size of systems of something. So it's really tough to revise it. That's one point. And also we have the good manufacturing sectors doing good work on the EPR systems. That's nice. And we have a huge, strong material industry. It's great. But once again, so maybe that they are a little bit focusing too much on recycling. That's the issue for now. And for the consumer side, actually, maybe that you heard something like Japanese love to purchase brand new things. That's all, They hate to purchase second-hand goods, maybe. But recently, we noticed that from some academic works, that the younger generation may be different. They are now accepting subscription or sharing, or maybe the refurbished goods, the remanufactured goods. So now it's the time to do something on that perspective. So it's kind of the opportunity. So we have to do something on that part. And then, the government prepared several new or maybe revised schemes. So first one is the so-called, I forgot the name in English, the act concerning blah, blah, I'm sorry. But anyway, so that's trying to support the really highly sophisticated technological recycling system. So that's one thing. And another point is, another act was revised to support the manufacturers to closely collaborate with the recycling industry. That's the first part. And also trying to promote the introduction of the e-commerce, such as the subscription or sharing, such kind of things. And also we are still trying to introduce some new individual recycling law. And for this time, we are preparing the PV waste. And also the last one is a quite important one, the government is trying to support the development of data exchange system. It's quite important, as you know, for the transition to the circular economy. So it's quite a lot. And then try to conclude my presentation. So as I mentioned, for now, current system is a little bit too much, focusing on waste management and recycling, and especially for the manufacturing sectors. But for now, we can see some examples of the parts type, service-sized type of businesses, even from manufacturing companies. So the nice example is Panasonic, I think. They are doing the subscription service by themselves, while they are developing the highly sophisticated dismantling technology like robotic something or something. And that's one thing. And we have to do for something for the consumer acceptance for the, these kind of service-sized things. And then another point is, actually, how to support the small-sized businesses, the newcomers, is important, I think. So good news now is, the number of startups across industry are increasing in Japan, but unfortunately, we didn't see a lot in the CE-related sectors, so we hope that something going to happen there. That's all. And also, I failed to write here, but of course, we want to see nice international collaboration with any countries, especially in the Asian Pacific region, but maybe go beyond. So that's all for my presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor Murakami. Thank you. Let's move on to I think it's fair to say, a totally different society where you work, Shalini, right? India, this multicolored, multi-layered, infinitely complex world, which is a continent on its own. Shalini, can you tell us a bit about what's happening in India at this point in time?
Sure. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for inviting me, and along with me, the country that has the highest population in the world, the country which is currently the 4th largest economy in the world, and very soon will be the 3rd largest economy. Having said that, representing that 1.45 billion people of our country is not easy, let me tell you that. What we do is seen by the world because it impacts the world. We are totally aware of this, and with this comes a huge set of responsibility. The very first question when I was preparing my presentation was, why are we all gathering here? Do we see the problem, or are we here for a solution? Today we sit in 2025, and what are we seeing? We are seeing a world where waste is growing. If you look at the numbers, the global volume of waste is increasing with every passing year. food grains being one of the biggest concern. If we look at this data, the world's most developed countries are wasting more than what we can afford to lose. If we look at my country, we are, again, despite being a developing nation and emerging economy, we generate almost 160,000 TPD of waste in 2021. This is the official record that says. We collect almost 95% of our waste, but we process hardly 50% of it. A large legacy still goes to the landfill. Is that a solution? Obviously not. If you look at Taiwan, it also produces a lot of waste. And a lot of it was incinerated until recently, when the policy started changing towards incineration. If you look at Delhi, where I come from, is the capital city of India. And it produces a hell lot of waste every day. Annually, approximately 50 kgs of waste per person is what we generate, which is not very high actually looking at the Western countries, but we are still aware that we are 1.4 billion and 50 kgs per person is a lot of waste. We have big landfill sites which are currently under reclamation. We expect that by 27-28, we will be able to reclaim our landfill sites completely. The policies that work in India, for circularity, most of the policies focus towards end of life. Extended producer responsibility in 5 major sectors: the rubber, battery waste, e-waste, used oil, and plastics have driven the policy chart. And it is being extended to many other sectors, including textiles. A very important initiative by the Prime Minister's office and led by the Principal Scientific Advisor's office is waste to wealth. We understand that nothing is waste until we waste it. So we focus on converting the waste into alternate sources. Another very important initiative in line with the EU policies is also the right to repair, where we understand that repairing is a very important sector in circularity. One thing that's not mentioned here, but I would like to highlight, is the Mission Life, which was Lifestyle for Environment, which was started by our Honorable Prime Minister and is focused towards the consumption patterns. When we talk about circular economy, most of the time we talk about recycling. Most of the time we see the solution coming from the industry. But is that the solution? I believe while we look at the production, we must also look at consumption, where each one of us plays a very significant role, and we all need to change the consumption patterns that we have. And that's where, while we focus on the industrial transition, India also focuses largely on the change in consumer behavior. If we look at the international policy, especially coming from the European Union, we see that right to repair, the CBAM, waste shipment regulations, and also the upcoming ISO standards is shaping a change in the policies. And every single country like ours has to make a shift that will align our businesses, that will align our policies in line with the international policies. And so India has played a very active role in all these sectors. But despite all that efforts, if we look at the Circularity Gap Report, we are 2.2% lesser in circularity as compared to the first report when it came out in 2018. What does it mean? It means the future projections are still not very commendable. We see that the waste that we are going to generate is going to almost double in the next few years. By 2050, we'll be generating the double waste that we are generating today. In Asia, we are generating waste more than ever. And with that, it purely emphasizes the fact that there is something missing. So what is that? How many in the room think that circularity is equal to recycling? Can you raise your hands, please? If we are doing recycling, we are circular. Anybody who thinks that? I think that's the first point, and I'm very happy that no one has raised hands. So circularity is more than recycling, and it is designing. How do we design? We need to change our processes. A design-led system thinking has to be incorporated in our production phases. In India, we do understand the importance of the informal sector, the MSMEs, the micro, small, and medium enterprises, and we focus a large policy landscape on them to improve decentralized local solutions that would come up. And that has helped us create not only employment and increase the GDP of the country, but also manage problems at the local solutions. Another very important point that we have seen is the cities. And we see cities as the pivotal point for circular transition. What we understand is how cities could be changed. And what we are doing, there are 5 pathways that we have identified, very much similar to the UNEP report. We see cities as shared spaces, cities as an ecosystem to dwell. They are the main drivers of change, and the governance in the cities is definitely learning to change and to move towards circular solutions. And that's how we look at a stepwise guide. If you look at the mindset, an additional lifestyle change management is something that is the focus. And as I said, apart from production, it is also the consumption that we are looking at. We want our cities to become the nature-based cities where we are talking about resilience, we are building in greenery, we are promoting the well-being of everybody, including our rivers, the buildings, the flora and fauna. In India, IT plays a very significant role, and we are looking at tracking the material flows. I'm sorry, can I take 2 minutes more and I not? One. Okay. So managing the materials with the IT infrastructure and digital transformation, and setting clear targets through the governance, creating jobs, and leading the innovation in the right direction. As I said, system thinking remains at the center of it, at the heart of it, to see how we lead such a change. Very quickly, a cheat sheet from India, collecting the data so that we have data-driven policies. We'll see where the material flows and how can we then look at designing priorities in the policies. Then we plan our next move, which helps in prevention rather than the end, and changing the waste, reducing the waste. And then finally, we try to make our cities more livable. This is what has helped India. I'm sure every single country in Asia is looking towards circularity with their own perspective, but I'm sure we have much to learn from each other, and I'll be very happy to interact with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, that was about 1 minute, and you were helped by the fact that the clock didn't go, so fair enough. We'd like to move on to Stephanie Downs. Stephanie, you've got the clicker. The perspective that Stephanie is going to give us is going to be broader with her organization. She consults and she helps organizations and governments throughout the region in Asia Pacific. So we're going to get more of a holistic view probably of what's happening in the region. Stephanie, please.
Thank you, and good morning, ni hao, everyone. When I was given the template, it did have my photo on the front, but let's move straight into the slides here. I have semi-visibility of the slides. I'm just going to move back a little bit. So WRAP is a global NGO. We were established in 2000, 25 years ago, in the UK through an Act of Parliament, which is very exciting. And our mission is to create circular living in every home to boardroom. We catalyse action from policymakers and businesses, NGOs, and have partnerships around the world. Our 4 main focus areas are to future-proof food, to prevent problematic plastics, to transform the textile sector, and to accelerate the circular economy through many of the solutions and areas that we've been talking about so far today. I've got some QR codes there if you wanted to scan them, but otherwise come talk to me afterward. In the interest of time, I'm going to move ahead a little bit and talk through what we do here. Now, as Mikey said, we are a global organisation. We expanded globally a few years back and have offices in the Americas, in Europe, and in Asia Pacific, as well as our headquarters in the UK. We operate in over 40 countries, so not all our staff are based in those specific regions, but work everywhere. And in terms of the spirit of partnership, we work with over 1,000 organisations around the world in over 25 collective voluntary agreements and pacts. Across 19 countries for plastics, across 10 countries for food, and across multiple countries for textiles. So that's in terms of recycling and recycling targets and reducing food loss and waste and working on circular design and business models. Within Asia Pacific, we follow the same strategy globally in WRAP, but in Asia Pacific, I wanted to highlight some of our key areas. And first of all, within food waste, we are working extensively through our partners in Australia, in Indonesia, and also with our partners in New Zealand to work on things like methane and reducing emissions through, for example, school catering. Thank you so much, students, for being here today, and working with major brands. So, for example, in Australia, that's working with 83% of the food retail market. We work with, we've got some great colleagues here from the Pacific Recycling Foundation, where we did a project to trial Pacific plastics recycling, soft plastics recycling, including in schools and in council areas, to start setting up for extended producer responsibility schemes. We work on sustainable tourism, and we've just finished food waste pilots in Bali. My team have been there, and just by being on the ground and training the staff, we're reducing food waste by 20 to 30% within a couple of months. We also work on reuse and repair. Please put up your hand today if you are wearing something second-hand or recycled. Next time round, I want to see much more. Today, I am wearing a jacket, top, and my high-end leather shoes that are second-hand. We also work extensively in behaviour change and being able to bring citizens on the journey. Now, I am based in Australia and I'm the first generation Australian, come through lots of multicultural backgrounds. But our journey has been very positive in the past year through our former Minister for Environment and our current one. We have been able to release a circular economy framework supported by a circular economy ministerial advisory group to help with implementation and sustainable procurement policies to help across construction, IT, furniture and textiles for those really large purchases that need to consider what are the most sustainable routes. Shortly, Australia will launch a Remade in Australia logo to help to brand that recycled content and that remade pathway that we need to take as part of the circular economy. At the same time, the Productivity Commission is releasing very soon, we're just waiting on a date, a final report for circular economy opportunities. And that's been backed by hundreds of businesses, universities, NGOs, not-for-profits, who are already undertaking circular initiatives across the pyramid. So reduce, reuse, repair, and all the R's in there, including recycling and least of all, landfill. But I wanted to highlight that bottom square down the bottom and the red box there, and I want to get a little bit closer so I can see my text. There we go. The circular economy applies to all sectors, and the ones that are in our framework at a glance around like the built environment, agriculture, this is very common around the world. We're going to see it in all frameworks. But that bottom box around innovation and systems thinking, and thank you to my former panellists who have mentioned this, advancing resource recovery, behaviour change, these are absolutely essential skills. If we don't foster these and grow these, we can't have a circular economy. One area that Australia can lead in is through mandatory climate and sustainability reporting disclosures. Through the efforts of the International Sustainability Standards Board back in 2023, we now have around 30 countries around the world that are rolling out mandatory climate disclosures. These represent 57% of the global GDP, 40% of the capitalised market, and over half of greenhouse gas emissions around the world. There's a bit of a disconnect because a lot of these are being rolled out by, for example, Treasury and not environment departments. However, circular economy initiatives, as we know here in the room, are absolutely vital for a climate transition, for a just transition, and for a resilient nation and wider partnerships. They also focus on Scope 3 emissions, publicly disclosing Scope 3 emissions across the entire value chain. Now, I also want to call out other areas within the Asia Pacific that are represented here. I've just got time for one today, and that is in the Pacific Islands. And we have some colleagues here from Fiji, and we have many others who support circular economy at the grassroots level, right? In a lot of these nations, we have a waste crisis. We don't have recycling infrastructure in place, and this is a major issue. We need to share learnings across countries and be supporting one another. So we've been actively working with our colleagues in the Pacific Islands for this reason. What's needed is about recognition of local knowledge. This is so important. We already have innovation. It's all there, and we saw plenty of it on the site visits. Thank you so much for hosting us yesterday. We need to help our communities to thrive and put the funding into that, right? All of that money is so important, right? Everyone asks for more funding. I note those climate disclosures are based on investor-led frameworks, right? So we're all talking about money here. And the last one is about making sure we are practical. Get those pilots going. Start doing some initiatives on the ground and tracking them. I just want to finish here on my summary slide. So we are making progress, but let's just be a little bit real for a second. That transition to a circular economy is presently delayed. It is disconnected from climate action, and it is completely lacking in green skills. All the research points to that. We do not have enough people to execute a circular economy. We need to be able to skill them up. We need mandated policies. All of these studies have shown that if you want to have a circular economy, you must have mandated policies in place to back it. We need partnerships and a just transition. The other two I've already mentioned, and I'm really excited about being here today. Please come and talk to me more to talk more on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. More than enough to talk about. My first question to you is, as an ordinary citizen like me, sometimes it feels that trying to get the green economy going is a bit like trying to push an oil tanker with your hands. The scale of and the thrust of the market and the marketing power of the traditional linear economy is just overwhelming, which makes the task of getting the circular economy going daunting. What do you think works best in order to get that change? Any of you? Yeah, Stephanie, please.
So that, as mentioned, local scale is really important, and being able to shift what we're doing so that it becomes the norm. I live in a small city. I live in Hobart. There are 230,000 people in the Greater Hobart region, and I have more second-hand shops than new retail stores for buying clothing in my area. Outperforms like a ratio of 3 to 1. And it means that everybody has started to shift that, and we see that through things like repair cafes and that community initiative, that the people are understanding circular economy. They don't have to use those words, but they are understanding that that change can be made, that it saves the money cost of living so important.
Yeah. Perhaps Minister Pang as well?
I have some feedback because you just mentioned Australia situations. Who's in charge of the circular economy? Is your Department of Environment, and also climate change, energy, water, waste. Yeah, it's a huge organization, right? It's a huge, and in Taiwan, we are Ministry of Environment. who in charge of the circular economy? There was lots of the military in charge of the circular economy, but nobody want to do this. And to be honest, before I joined the government, and I found our government in charge of the legal issues, the framework, but there was little action, real action. I mean, the action means lots of the, for example, idea, governance, and business. And we did not have a link about this. So I would like to get our Madam Lai, and she is the circular resource circulations administration, and also our Charles Huang, because these two go to my office, tell me, okay, such is a kind of good event. So that's why we trigger our circular economy in Taiwan. So right now, Madam Lai in charge of all of the circular economy in Taiwan, and because his administration is a key for all of the government. And my boss also one day he talked to me, and my boss is president and premier, and he asked me, Minister Peng, you are not minister of the environment. If you think it's good for the environment, anything you can do, you should not have the border. The border sometimes means, oh, it's a Ministry of Economy, it's a Ministry of Agriculture, and you can do more and more in the future. For example, I would like to, a good case for you, solar PV. In Japan, you are under consideration about the law. You know, in the next 3 months, we are in struggle for the disaster. The typhoon hit Taiwan. There were more than 121,000 pieces of the solar PV damaged. Or it's just like a huge mountain in south of Taiwan. How can you do this? How to, because sometimes we have law and we have framework is when the solar PV retired after 20 years, but it's suddenly only 3 years damaged. How to do this? So we try to find some of the methodology. So right now, we in our modification of the circular our law, and we want to make it as a legal framework, and we also check the system. So I think the circular economy, if we want to do this, the first one is the platform. The government should be a very key issue to be a platform. Just you mentioned the governance, and the problem is that there were so many ministries. They should do this. So we should have one. He take all of this. And the second is the ecosystem. The ecosystem means we should help the business encourage. For example, this time when we meet the solar PV, the government cannot do anything. We just push them faster, and more clean about this one. But how can you make the ecosystem, make how can the recycling the solar PV is more efficient? And the system can make it real is very important. Yeah.
Maybe you can say something about that from the point of view of Japan, because you have a very consensus-based society. There's a lot of consensus type of decision making. So how do you go about getting all those stakeholders into the process? What can others learn from that?
Thank you for the question. And actually, that's the most difficult part, I think. So because when we talk about the carbon neutral, it's quite easy to understand why you have to do that. So when you're asked to purchase something less carbon intensive, you're contributing to reduce the amount of the carbon. That's quite clear. But in the case of circular economy, so now it's a little bit tough to understand for ordinary people to understand why you have to do this really. So previously, we are asking to people to contribute into the recycling because we have the limited space for the landfill, actually. That's quite easy to understand. But for now, it's quite difficult. So maybe that's setting easy to understand purpose or objective and share it with everyone. Makes things easier, I think. So that's the point of discussion for now. And also, reflecting to the PV panel things, that kind of thing is quite difficult because unfortunately PV panel doesn't have much value on the material to be recycled, but still we have to do something. So once again, it's quite difficult to understand why we have to do that. We are going to landfill, that's all. Maybe that could be the easiest way for everyone, but we have to do something. So maybe that understand the purpose and motivate people is the most difficult part for the CE transition.
Well, okay, we're going to get there in a second because that connects with the question that we have for you. But before that, I'd like to give the floor to Shalini. And maybe another thing to mention at this point in history is that the political scenery has shifted significantly. While after the Paris agreements, there was a certain degree of sort of consensus around the world that things needed to happen. All of that has dramatically changed. How do you see that panning out in the future? I mean, geopolitically, what is going to be the impact of geopolitics on the world of the circular economy?
Well, political is something very dicey. What you're asking me with the US president being there, things are very dicey as we can see. But yeah, coming to my country and looking at what we are, kind of how we are taking it, is we have very clear goals. Our carbon neutrality, the net zero goal is 2070. How we are looking at it is, like I said in my presentation, from the two perspectives. One, we understand while in our country also it is the Ministry of Environment who is leading the circularity and the policies in circularity. We do understand that it's not only the subject of environment, and till the time we assume that it will be an environmental subject, I believe we will not be able to reach to where we are aiming at. So we have given it an equal importance. Is one, the energy transition. Second is the industrial transition. And the third is the consumer behavior. So most of the transition and the work that remains is on these three perspectives. When I talk about the energy transition, we have committed 500 gigawatts of renewable energy. And I'm very happy to share that we have already converted almost 40% of our energy need coming from the renewable energy. We have more than 225 gigawatts of renewable energy installed, and we are very much on the track of installing 500 gigawatts. When we come to industry, we realize that the MSME sector and the large corporate plays a very significant role. And so looking at production, while maintaining the fact that looking at recycling is one, but reuse and repair models are equally significant. We are looking at reducing. So efficiency in resource is something that is very essential when it comes to the industrial processes, and we are looking how we can define our processes to be more efficient and produce less waste. The third is the consumer behavior, and how do we bring in that change, because we understand from your first question, Mike, when you said who owns it, who brings about the change, I think every one of us, every individual brings a change. A very simple example, but very ground reality. I myself was not able to kind of segregate my waste into two designated areas because one, I didn't have the information. I was not aware of how I can do it. Second, I didn't have the infrastructure to do it. But then with the big Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, if you know, it's called the Clean India Drive. It's a national drive that came along. Technology and convenience played such a role that most of our families are now segregating waste. We have achieved 100% door-to-door collection in many cities, many. And today we are now looking at how this waste could be then recycled in a proper way. So this is, I think, where the change comes, and how we can drive it at an individual level is also significant.
Let's find out what the audience thinks about this, because we've got a Slido question again for you. Could we have the Slido QR code on screen again? And we have this time a question that we would like you to answer with just one or two key words. And the question is, in developing the circular economy, what do you think you can contribute? Now try to capture that in one or two key words, and if those words come to you in Mandarin, use Google Translate to find the English equivalent. So I've got a phone number there to start with. That's very useful. So we see the word cloud taking shape as you type in your answers. Let's wait for a couple of seconds more, because we can see in the top corner, we can see how many people have responded. So the response rate is still increasing. We've got about 120 responses now. When we see it slowing down, So the biggest word there is reuse. That's interesting. That's interesting. So I'd like to get the view on that from any one of you. This is what people think they can do. Reuse. Stephanie, can you say something about that?
Absolutely. We've done multiple studies in Australia, so that's been led by the Charitable Reuse Australia recently, and also many other institutions. We've shown that reuse has about 30 times more jobs than recycling, and over 100 times more jobs than at landfill. Repair has 10 times more than reuse, by the way. So this is a growing trend. What we find particularly around reuse and repair and also reduce is that these are really hard areas, right? They are the bulk of a circular economy pyramid, but they are very hard to execute on a systemic level. But we all know that they are, that reuse in particular is extremely important for being able to conserve and extend the lifespan of our products. RAP has shown that if you extend the lifespan of, let's say, garments by 9 months in the UK, it saves about 20 to 30% of the emissions associated with the life cycle of the garment and saves the UK £5 billion. So these are really big changes when it comes to things like reuse.
Thank you. By the way, there's one word there. Somebody said stuff. That's a key word. Well done. Yeah, stuff. Lovely. But, Minister, if you add up education and awareness, you would have gotten probably a cloud as big as reuse. So how are you going to work together with the Ministry of Education?
Actually, I have idea with Rob, because I just mentioned the solar PV. We meet a big problem before, but we fix it, and we have the experience how to do the solar PV. So I have an idea, Rob. We can use the idea of the solar PV, not retire, but probably retire, also damaged. Reuse the solar PV, education for the solar PV, and the policy maker for the solar PV. You can be the platform for across the countries, government together. So you should do this. And we can contribute the experience with you. And also lots of the country need the better solution, also the policy, rethink, collaboration. I think the solar PV is a good item we can do together. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, later on when we do the business matchmaking, for those who actually conclude a match, we give them chocolate. So I'll have chocolate for you afterwards. This is the first match. Can we have a round of applause for that, please? Thank you. However, I would like maybe one of the two of you to say something more about what you can do with regard to educating the public at large, which is hugely difficult because you've got this tremendous marketing power of companies whose only interest is to sell, and sell more. So how do you get into the minds?
Yes, I think this is the key because when we talk about the green skills and like you said, that reuse has more job opportunities and also the business opportunities when it comes to circularity rather than the recycling part of it or the waste management part of it. So that's why I think one of the major campaigns that our council, the International Council for Circular Economy, works is on creating that awareness at the school level, at the higher education level, and also the entire fraternity. So when we started working, a very good example that came to my mind is we went to the universities and we tried to, I think this is 2021, soon after the pandemic was over, and we said that we want the universities to have the application of circular economy within their campuses. And most of the vice chancellors, they came and they said, is that an economic subject? So you should not be speaking to me. Go to the Department of Economics and speak to them. And very well, I said, yes, it is an economic subject, but very much so the environmental subject as well. So I would like to speak to you and let you know about what circular economy is all about. And I had to give them a definition. So the thing starts from there. We trained almost 542 vice chancellors out of 1,400 universities in India. And we compel them to bring circular economy as a subject for the technical graduation subjects. And today we see that while we speak about the environmental engineering, we talk about industrial engineering, we are talking about circularity right from there. So the circularity is embedded, reuse and repair and refurbishment is included much before the recycling into the curriculums, and that's how we generate a whole generation of people who are looking at solutions much before we go into the recycling.
Thank you so much. So reuse, it creates jobs, all those jobs which AI apparently is eating up. That's the solution, lovely. Could I have a round of applause for the panel, please? Thank you. Could I invite the three of you to regain your seats? Minister, you're going to do the second part of your presentation this morning. You talked about the past. It's time for the future now with the roadmap.
Okay, thank you. I would like to show you the Taiwan circular economy roadmap. Actually, it's a draft. You know, the final is how the net zero and the circular economy. You know, Raptor just talk about Australia, you meet the problem, the gap between the net zero and the circular economy. But right now we are thinking about this. The key issue is the carbon footprint. The price of the carbon pricing is the key for the future. What we think about is our vision is right now we have the recycling rate, but in the future, our circularity is, we should be 2.5 times. So that's why our vision and the goal. And it's a number, and I will not tell you the details, but I will give you our ambition about our circularity number in the future. And we have several key areas. For example, the textiles, biomass, plastic, and packaging, and also architecture and construction, and also high-tech electronic. That's the Taiwan ICT industry we mentioned about. And also the last one is energy and critical materials. And you know, lots of the iPhone, and they are recycled in Taiwan. And they produce lots of the critical material. That's why we want to do it in the future. And we have a cross-sector governance. For example, the legal issue is the key for everyone. And just I mentioned, the government is a platform. The platform means government is not the key to dominate everything. Is to help everything, to work with everyone. So the first one is the eco-design and upstream reduction and the sustainable consumption and the circular procurement and also energy resources. There were 6 parts. So we want to work all of you, and we open the mind to the world. You know, Taiwan is we can very open to everyone. And this is the roadmap. I'm sorry, it's Mandarin Chinese, because one of the key guys is a professor. He manually made the photo by himself. This is the source from the energy to fossil fuel industries and the plastic industry and to our daily life. So it's a linkage, so everywhere. So right now, our ministry are working for this roadmap. We want to shape in the Taiwan net zero and the circular economy technology blueprint. It's not easy, but we are trying to dialogue to everyone step by step. We want to make a linkage. That means we don't want to have the West name. Every West should be a kind of the resource. The resource to be the other company. So we want to make a good linkage for this ecosystem. So I want to create a better circular economy roadmap. If you have any kind of a feedback, please let us know, because we open our mind to the public. We want to, because for example, our net zero goal about Taiwan, just I mentioned, we take about 6 months to finish this. And we hope next year we can have a time to make our circular economy roadmap for Taiwan. Next year we want to finish this. So we open our mind to the public and also for the international society. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Minister. Yeah, so let's go over the instructions of what people need to do to actually contribute. Yeah, so here's the QR code. The QR code is also on your badges. So with your phones, you can read the QR code, which is on your badge. You will find it on screens in all of the various sessions and workshops that we're going to do in the rest of the program. And it is an ongoing invitation to provide feedback to the organizers, the three ministries on behalf of the Taiwanese government, to give them ideas about how you think the roadmap could be improved. There is an infographic on the roadmap once you open the app and you tap on roadmap. And then there's various fields where you can fill in your comments. All of these comments will be collected in the course of these 2 days, and they will be part of the output of this event. So when earlier on, we talked about taking responsibility and making a commitment, this is part of your commitment. Make sure that you go to the roadmap, make sure that you scan the QR code, and add your points, your suggestions, your ideas, anything that you can think of in general or as a result of specific sessions. And please help the Taiwanese government in the spirit of why we are here together. Nobody can do this on their own. Nobody can create the circular economy on their own. We have to do it together. And this is one of the things that you can contribute. Can I count on you to do this, please? Let's repeat the question. Maybe you ask. Can we count on you to do this?
Actually, my idea is about, because sometimes I think the action is the key, but sometimes people talk. So right now, my question is how to make a real action. How to make a real action. The government just like a platform. For me, although we want to help the industry, we have a green growth fund. The fund is working with the venture capital to help the industry growing up. But it's not easy. It's not easy. We have lots of the challenge and the barrier. And you mentioned the education. The education is the key. But how can we educate all the people? Right now, this room is wonderful, but the other room is not. So how can we communicate with the public about a circular economy is the key to the future? How can we do this?
Okay, so if you have any ideas, put them in the feedback to the roadmap. Thank you. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
That concludes our morning program for the pre-coffee break. We're going to have a second international panel after the coffee break, but please now enjoy a cup of coffee. Please all be back punctually at 11 o'clock. See you later. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to resume in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes more break time, and then the program will start again. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1 minute, the program will resume. In 1 minute, could you please be back in your seats? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite everybody to regain their seats, please. The coffee break ends here temporarily. You will have a further opportunity to enjoy coffee later in the morning. So please, could I have everybody seated again so that we get ready for the next items on the program, which includes our second international panel. Still some movement in the back, people returning with their cups of coffee. Excellent, thank you. Good. Yesterday, in spite of the horrendous weather, I believe 500 millimeters of rain in Taipei and surroundings in one day. And the minister knows more about this because he has a previous life as a weather anchor. That's why he could give all the details about the Taipei weather. Now, we'd like to hear a bit about those site visits that took place yesterday. So I'd like to invite two people on stage to come up with a brief testimonial. There were 6 routes, and we've got one person who followed the high-tech and electronics route, and one person who took a different route, which was the culture and community regeneration route. So could I have on stage, please, Carlo Delantar of Altum from the Philippines? Where are you, Carlo? Yes, good. And Uwe Handmann, who works with the neuroinformation with the German colleagues in Ruhr West, not that far from where I live, actually, comparatively speaking. There's 2 microphones. Yes. Welcome on stage. Could we have a round of applause for Carlo and for Uwe, please?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Carlo, let me start with you. You were in the route that was sold out almost right away. There was the high-tech and electronics route. And I'd like to just pick your brain a bit on what did you see, what was relevant for you?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Carlo Chandalantar. I'm part of Gobi Partners. We're an investor, and we've invested in circular economy as well. So I huge shout out to the organizers for having site visits. It's always nice to have just a download of what things happen, but experiencing it is another thing, right? So I went to the electronics site visit, and it was great. We went to Gigabyte. I think their booth is there, but seeing how they work with e-waste and understanding how important the value is for decoupling and the new term I learned was reballing, in a way to see what's happening on that space and how a lot more companies can actually apply that. E&E recycling was awesome. I think it's a really good use case on how a company that is started by 15 appliance companies ended up going public. In the past 5 years, they've increased their stock by over 65%.
Okay.
So seeing that is a real good use case of economic value.
Did they talk about how they managed to get their money? Because we're having a workshop tomorrow morning about financing the circular economy. It's a big problem. How did they manage? Did you talk about that?
There was a conversation about that, but maybe tomorrow could be in detail, definitely. Okay. The last part was TSMC, maybe one of the most important ones, especially one of the most important companies right now in Taiwan. Just the idea alone that industrial symbiosis, to see it right in front of you was great, but also showcasing that we need each other, companies, to work together with different technologies to make a zero-waste facility for something such as indicative and valuable as semiconductors was mind-blowing, I would say, especially in technology. So we invest in over 62 companies with circular economy principles already, but we're definitely committed. And one of the reasons why I'm here, I've brought one of the largest delegations from the Philippines, including the Ministries of Science, Environment, and of course trade are here because we want to see how this would grow over time as a hotspot and also a roundtable.
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way, because you're one of the top 3 countries represented here, almost equal numbers: India, the Philippines, and the Netherlands. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, you mentioned industrial symbiosis just now, and that was one of the things that you picked up on. Can you say a bit more what that means in your world?
Not upcycling. that would be the easiest way to say it. But really capturing the waste before it goes to external flows with it. So you work within the value chain and collaborate to find new ways to create value, I would say. Yeah. And we've seen this with multiple ways. One of our investments called U1 Planet is now currently working in China and Malaysia, capturing all the automotive recycled parts and already been bought before even capturing it, mainly because there's huge demand right now. Critical minerals, industrial symbiosis, key investment opportunities in the next 20 years.
Okay, yeah. Uwe, you went on the culture and community regeneration tour.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I did.
Okay, and what happened there? Tell us.
First of all, maybe some words about my person. I'm here I'm a representative of the Postpo-Kolleg and the Ruhr-West University, and I'm very interested in have an exchange, an interdisciplinary exchange, because I'm a computer scientist. And that's why I entered the tour yesterday in this the tour 6 with culture and community exchange. And why? I think it is very important to activate the people, to activate the communities. And that's why I entered this tour. And what would I say? It was very interesting. I was very impressed about the engagement of the people. They were talking to us. And that's the major point I took yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. So give me an example of something that somebody said and that you're going to take back with you.
Yes, we had 4 site visits yesterday, and one site visit was very impressive to me. It was IMEA village, and in this village we have a social enterprise, and this enterprise takes care about communication, about participation, especially for the elder people, for the people the seniors. They integrate them, picking up PET bottles. They integrate them to discuss in cafes. They have they have second-hand shops, repair cafes, and that's something that was very impressive for me, because the people are very engaged, and they wanted to integrate them. They wanted to activate the people, and that's something I like very much.
And it worked. These elderly people, they were actually coming to these initiatives.
They work. They have a cafe, and they interact with each other. They have a library. That's something that is very important, I think, if you want to have the circular economy successful, because you have to interact, you have to discuss different topics, and because it's not only a technical point, the circular economy, it's also a social point, a cultural point.
May I add something
Yeah,
there?
sure.
High conviction. In Asia Pacific, Taiwan is arguably the best example of a circular economy for the reason of how big this country is, but also the technological innovations and the philosophy from support from government, organizations, associations, and you have development all at the same time. If it works here, it should work everywhere, and this is definitely one of the best use cases for the globe.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So you go back to the Philippines. Tell me one thing that you're going to tell the government people in the Philippines.
We should be working since yesterday, right? And I think the minister was saying that this typhoon came from the Philippines, and literally we're the first walls before it hits anywhere else. And without technology, without the right interventions, it's a question of how far we would get till 2030, right? We're one of the most vulnerable countries because of climate change, and to get there, we don't want to wait till the tipping point, right? We need to do it now with technology, with policies, enforcement, and collaboration.
Thank you. And Uwe, what are you going to take with you to Ruhr-West, close to the German border in the Netherlands?
Yes, the major point is I think we have a very engaged society. I took away one point, that this was 90% of every glass is recycled in Taiwan. That's a very high number, I think, and that's something I take away, because I think the society in Taiwan is very engaged to make a circular economy successful. Yeah. And that's something we can learn about.
Yeah. Living here, it's very obvious that it's happening every day. Yeah. People go out when the waste van comes by. They've got the music, and people bring their recycle-prone stuff down and drop it, and it's the norm. So good. Thank you for these brief testimonials, Uwe and Carlo. Round of applause. Thank you. We're going to move over to our second international panel now, ladies and gentlemen, and that panel bears the title From Roadmap to Action. And I'm very honored, to be honest, to hand over for this panel the moderation to a person, I think it's fair to say that he was maybe at rocking the cradle of the circular economy in Taiwan. Incessantly and untiringly, when he occupied the position of heading the Netherlands office here in Taipei. We can't officially call it an embassy, because if China hears us, they get very pissed off. I shouldn't say that, sorry. But in effect, this is what Guy Wittig did when he was here during his tenure in Taiwan. So he will lead the next panel, and he will introduce his panelists. Guy, could I invite you on stage, please? Thank you. Big round of applause for Guy Wittig, ladies and gentlemen. Good luck.
Thank you.
The most important thing for me the next hour is my timer, okay? Because we have Charles Huang on the panel, which you're very honored to, and I'm really looking forward to hear from him and other three panelists. Thank you for the introduction, Mike. Yes, 10 years ago, I was sitting in an airplane from Amsterdam to Taipei, and I actually, coincidentally, I was sitting next to Charles, or almost sitting next to Charles, and he asked me, do you know what circular economy is? I had no idea. I mean, I had an idea of waste management and stuff, so no, you're wrong. So he had actually 12 hours to brainwash me, and yeah, I got the gist of it, and the rest is history, because basically, he convinced me that this is the way forward. This is the future of Taiwan, of the Netherlands, of our world. and we need to be serious about it. So I'm extremely honored that I can host this session, which is close to my heart. I still work for a government in Europe, and so governance, whether it's corporate level, national level, or international level, is key to the success. And it's not just top down, it's bottom up, and we're still struggling with it. I think 10 years down the road, but Taiwan has come a long way, and we've seen the result from the minister this morning, so I'm very happy to see that things are moving forward. In Europe, we have the Circularity Act, hopefully be law next year. So there are a lot of not just initiative and ideas, but there is actually a call to action happening. And this is what this panel is about. So I would like to introduce to you three extremely I would say visionaries, pioneers as well in this area, in different areas. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Wei Wang Chen, who's the General Manager of Everlight Chemical Industrial Corporation. Please welcome Wei Wang. Yeah, it is, have a seat. Next on the panel is Freek van Eyck, who is the CEO of Holland Circular Hotspot. And of course, last but not least, Charles Huang, Chairman of the Circular Taiwan Network. Please have a seat. We have three sessions, three parts of this panel, this session. The first part, we will ask each of the panelists to share with us their views from a corporate governance, from a national governance, and from an international governance perspective, and how they interact. And in the second part, we will go doing a deep dive, look more closely on the international cooperation, and also how this would work. And for that, we also need your participation. This morning, we have already heard from India, from Japan, different countries, how they are organized, how they see it. But this is really an international close cooperation, and we would like to come to a call to action. And that's actually, let's say, the key driver, the KPI I want to get out of this session. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce again the first panelist, and that is Wei Wang. Wei Wang actually has been a pioneer in and a leading practitioner in circularity in Taiwan. Actually, just last May, your company won the Innovation Technology Award at the 5th Taiwan Circular Economy Awards program. For a very specific reuse, circular reuse of ammonium sulfate as part of your dyeing process, because you're one of the leading companies globally in the chemicals for colors, for electronic chemicals, also for the semiconductor industry, and for pharmaceuticals. You yourself also are the chairman of the Taiwan Chemical Industry Association. You represent the collective voice of the Taiwan chemical sector. And again, you have been a pioneer in this area. So, Wei Wang, can you share with us what were the key factors of success in becoming a more circular company? And also, going forward now in the next level, what are your major challenges and opportunities you see in this field?
Guy, thank you for your introduction. From the first panel, I noticed that Stephanie was bragging about her second-hand outfit. So I would like to say, probably I am the only guy in this room today who rode the city bicycle to this venue. And for yesterday, and for Monday evening also. Okay, and I'm using my own water bottle. My personal in order to save time for Guy, I decided to read from my script so I don't run over time. My personal engagement with the circular economy began more than a decade ago. When I first noticed it, one of our major Chinese competitors, Longshan, invested in 2010 a huge integrated circular economy industrial park. And I further studied, noticed that China actually was a forerunner for circular economy. In 2004, they already published the policy. In 2008, they codified into the law. I also learned BASF, a leading German chemical giant, had the idea of a Verbund, integrated chemical industrial parks. Actually, they have 7 around the world. These are inspiring facts that helped me to grasp the idea. And I understand it's very important to transform from linear to circular business model. Okay, I will hit this to the next slide. No, let me put it back. All right, yeah, this is the page. Good governance is the key factor for achieving circular transformation at the corporate level. Being the governance body, corporate board of directors is about balancing value creation with risk avoidance, while maintaining transparent communication to build trust among stakeholders within and out of the company. These leadership functions are critical to pursuing long-term collaboration and innovation of the company. About 10 years ago, under the guidance of Charles Wang of Circular Taiwan Foundation, we established a circular economy committee at Everlight Chemical to institutionalize the idea. The committee is chaired by myself and composed of senior vice presidents, ensuring the circular strategy remain an executive-led priority. In parallel, we formed a bottom-up cultural cultivation task force to translate the strategy into daily practices throughout the organization. Over the past decade, a succession of executive secretaries has sustained this effort, creating continuity and momentum. Today, more than 40 colleagues work together on our 3-year circular economy promotion plan, encouraging engagement, training, and innovation proposals across the departments. This dual structure bridges leadership intent with employee participation, aligning value creation, risk management, and trust building within our corporate culture. As you see in this slide, a picture was taken during Everlight Chemicals 2024 Circular Economy Contest, where employees presented their circular innovation projects. Okay. One concrete example comes from our textile dyestuff synthesis process. A bottom-up innovation proposal developed under our CE task force was recognized as the annual Model of Innovation Technology Award at the 2025 Taiwan Circular Economy Contest organized by the Chinese Institute of Economic Research, ICER. The project introduced a breakthrough technology that transforms ammonia-containing effluent from dyestuff production into ammonium sulfate, which is then used to replace fresh ammonia solution, one of the key raw materials in our previous process. This closes the loop, turning waste into feedstocks while maintaining the same product quality. The results include a 98% reduction in ammonia nitrogen effluent, $5.7 million in raw material savings, and 114 metric tons of carbon dioxide reduction each year. Okay, one last slide. On our journey towards circular transformation, we have encountered challenges, but also new opportunities. On the supply side, some technically capable suppliers hesitate to offer viable CE solutions, while others quote prohibitively high prices. On the demand side, customers have yet to adopt our CE-based business models despite clear evidence of environmental and cost benefits. Regulatory governance also poses barriers. I have to say, public agencies often prioritize risk avoidance over value creation. And in Taiwan, as you notice, circular economy policy is driven mainly by environmental authorities rather than economic development ministries. Nevertheless, opportunities are emerging, particularly in utility as a service models such as suppliers of water, energy, transportation, waste treatment, and construction material industries such as cement, brick, asphalt, and steelmaking, where large-scale circularity can be achieved through cross-sector collaboration. The government could also take a leading role by amending the Public Procurement Act and adopting proactive circular policies. Starting with utilities, public authorities can lead by example, shifting from traditional purchasing to acquiring services, thereby creating demand pool and accelerating the national CE transition. The efforts show that circular transformation is not only a technical challenge, but also a governance challenge. In closing, good governance balances value creation with risk avoidance and built-in trust through transparent communication. These principles have guided Everlight Chemicals' circular journey, turning vision into action and ideas into results. Let us continue to move from roadmap to action, transforming good ideas into good businesses and share progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wei Wang. You raised actually a lot of points that are almost call to actions, I would say, and so we'll come back to that in the Q&A session. We're moving forward now. Again, I'm going to introduce Charles Huang, who probably doesn't need any introduction. I sometimes call him the godfather of circular economy in Taiwan. He's a visionary. He wrote a couple of books on it and has been the driving force behind the CTN, the Circular Taiwan Network. He's also on the board of various international organizations, local, international, very active and been also one of the initiators of this conference. So Charles, without further ado, I know you have a lot to share with us. Could you lead us into the circular trilogy model and how good ideas and good governance should lead to good business? Floor is yours.
Thank you, Guy. Before I thank and welcome everybody here, I want to thank President Wang, Chen Wei Wang, has been sort of a pioneer and definitely a leader in the area of corporate governance in transition into circular economy. And I know this is a long journey for him, but I'm pretty sure this is also just the beginning. He has a lot of work to do. Do you mind if I stand up? I keep a note for myself, and the note actually is a reminder of what I'm not to say, so I can conclude my speech in 10 minutes. So in the next 10 minutes, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take you to a journey on circular economy, or the world, the progress that has been made globally on circular economy, at least from the angle of where we are in Taiwan. So in 10 minutes, you will be able to capture what we have done collectively and globally in the last 10 years. Oh, I need this too. Sorry, I thought somebody would do it for me. I'm going to be very succinct. The first point I'm going to talk about is what I call the inconvenient truths 2.0. Some of you may have heard of inconvenient truths. I refer to as a 1.0, which was in a book by ex-US Vice President Al Gore, Inconvenient Truths. Then he was talking about climate crisis. But the inconvenient truths we are faced today is that we have not faced up to what I call the linear crisis. Okay? the problem is much more holistic than simply climate crisis. In other words, the linear economy is actually a form by design to be destructive, to be degenerative, and to be exploitative, and to be exclusive. And that creates lots of problems. And there are two major problems that are very obvious in our daily lives and also in the dialogues between nations. The core of those problems, the core of the problem is that linear economy is not just about climate crisis. There are what I call 7 collective crises we need to deal with in tandem and simultaneously. Beyond climate crisis, we have resource scarcity. Sorry. I've been speaking Chinese too long. Anyway, energy insecurity, of course, an environment hazard, and also ecological imbalance. These are the direct result of a linear economy. But also indirectly, the public health risk is also attributable to our economy. Social inequality, the gap between rich and poor, is also the result of a linear economy. At least it's a very exclusive form of economy. And finally, geopolitical divide exploitation. And this leads to what we commonly refer to as the gap or the divide between the global north and global south. Okay? We see the problems today geopolitically or the divide between nations, but actually it's about the north and south divide that we need to deal with. So moving from the Inconvenient Truth 2.0, I want to be very candid and frank to share with you what I call the reality check. And I have so many reality checks I'd like to go with every one of you, but I'll just share with you 2 of them. The first one is this. After 30 years, the climate crisis or the carbon emission actually continue to rise. If you look at this chart on the right-hand side, since 1990s, or 30 plus years, until 2024, the carbon emission continued to rise. Despite the fact we have had almost, or this year will be the 30th COP conference, where global leaders, industry leaders get together and swear and promise about net zeros. A lot of research was done by IPCC. So far, there have been 6 of them. Anyway, in short, the reality check is that we have moved from what we call the climate crisis in the early 1990s to what we call, or actually called by the UN Secretary General, he used Javier, what's his name? Gutierrez. He called it climate hell. So the reality check number 1 is we have moved from climate crisis to climate hell. In other words, climate crisis actually is deteriorating. And we can almost say goodbye to 1.5 degree, which was set up 10 years ago. The second reality check is that throughout the last 10, 20 years, there are many, many countries committed to circular economy. Many, many what I call initiatives or frameworks trying to deal with climate crisis and also circular economy. But the problem is this. If you look at, I'm just using EU framework as an example. You have the Circular Economy Action Plan. You have the EU taxonomy. You have CSRD, SFDR, and all these kind of things. And we have the Green Deal and Fit for 55, clear global standards and trade influence. These are all very, very good. However, the limitation of that also exists. They are basically finance-driven, compliance-driven, and they are still in linear logic. Focus on disclosure, what to report, not so much how to transform. Inward-looking, limited north-south collaboration. Now, this is on the sort of at the national level, regional level. But if you look at, in addition to the government, the public sectors, there's many, many NGOs and global advocacies also are championing for transition to circular economy. They are all very visionary, but their efforts are fragmented. My good friend from EMF, who is not here today, Ellen MacArthur Foundation in the UK, have designed, redefined what design should be, and in fact even championed some product as a service business models. World Economic Forum, OECD, have qualified the circularity gap, identified circularity gap, and proposed strategies against it. Anyway, the point is that those are also limited. They are siloed as opposed to systemic. They are siloed as opposed to be structural. And they are voluntary, they are donor-driven, therefore limited scale. So the scalability is very difficult. No unified governance or fiscal integrity. Anyway, the key point is reality check I wanted to share with everybody here is that until today, most of the initiatives, be it from the governments or NGOs, remain inside linear comfort zone. Linear comfort zone. And it is my belief and my experience that real structural change will only take place outside of the comfort zone. In this case, circular economy. Now, moving into the next sharing beyond the reality check is that because of what happened the last 30 years, or what didn't happen over the last 30 years, we are at the tipping point. And how do you deal with that tipping point? We need to move to circular economy. And this is what I call a roadmap to circular economy. We refer to here in Taiwan as circular trilogy. It needs to begin with, it needs to move from the very beginning, from having good circular ideas, and try to go through a systematic circular governance to become circular business, and which I will talk about it in a few minutes. But I wanted to emphasize at this point, circular economy, as we sit here today, circular economy is not a choice. It is a must. If you go back and look at all the newspaper you like, and magazines you like, cite all the problems, virtually all the problems are related to the form of economy we have today, the linear economy, destructive, degenerative, exclusive, and exploitative. Now, what is the circular trilogy? It's a holistic and systematic concept. It begins with good ideas. Now, because of time, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in details, and if you're interested, we can talk about it later. But I do want to point out on good ideas, because the previous speakers talk about the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. That's a linear concept. Circular economy is beyond 3 R's. 3R, reduce, reuse, recycle, is a less bad concept. We need something more good. In this case, we call 2 R's. We need to redefine our needs at the very personal level, what our needs are. And based on that redefined needs, we begin to redesign either the governance or our business models accordingly. I'm just using that as a quick example. And I want to go into details. On the governance side, it's about collaboration. Okay? In today's economy, there's actually no collaboration, genuine win-win collaboration. It's about win-lose collaboration, if you like it. Finally, when we talk about good business, it's not just about shareholder profits. It's also talking about stakeholders' benefits. These are very important. Because in order to be resilient, in order to be sustainable, all stakeholders have to be winners. If we have stakeholders who are winners and losers, it's not sustainable. Anyway, with the good ideas, good governance, and good business, what's at the core of this is what? It's the 17 SDGs. Okay, we have seen a lot of corporations say we are doing SDGs 7 and 8 or 9. But they fail to recognize by doing 8 or 9, they may have created negative impact on other SDGs. So SDGs impact is a holistic, systematic goal, and we consider that as a global language, is a global aspiration we need to embrace. But to do that, we need a circular trilogy. And on the how, is again we come up with a circular collaboration for collective crisis, the 7 collective crises I mentioned, and as a way to move forward, genuine collaboration. Now, so what we need to do is align what all the government have been doing, the initiatives that is being put forth by all the governments, at the same time with the linear or with the circular trilogy. This is what I call linear initiatives plus the circular trilogy as an alignment. Now, the underlining of that is that we need to go green, from go green to go circular. Go green is an incremental step toward doing better. But go circular is a structural change for society. So you can see we have a sign here that says go circular. There's a lot more meaning to that. We need to move beyond go green to go circular. So the idea is that let's not fight with old problems head on. Instead, create something new to replace them. And circular economy is something we need to create and then to gradually replace the negative impact from linear economy. This chart here basically trying to summarize the existing frameworks on how they are in different dimensions in comparison to circular trilogy in different comparison. I'll just mention a few for the sake of discussion. On dimension 1 governance side of it, current initiatives mostly are compliance and disclosure driven, including ESG. Okay. ESG is part of your annual report, but they are not part of your financial statements. Okay. And business only consider financial statements as the key driver. Circular economy is about incentive and alignment. The scope of which the framework is mostly climate, waste, and pollution. But circular trilogy is about 7 collective crises. Approach, the existing frameworks, rule-based, CBAM, you need to be in CBAM compliance by 2026, yes. Circular trilogy is value-based. Focus, it's financial-driven. But the problem or the solution we have is beyond finance. And in circular trilogy is systemic and cross-ministerial level and borderless concept. And it goes beyond regional, it's global. So we are able to bridge the gap between the global and source. So we can ensure shared prosperity rather than divided prosperities. Finally, this is my last chart, and I use the word optional because I know I was going to run out of time. But since nobody's stopping me, I'm going to say something too. Here we are calling for go circular, now and together. Now, without looking at all this, what I wanted to say is this. One of the very famous speech by former President Kennedy in the US, I don't know how many of you remember him, but he made a point about moving toward future. If not me, or if not us, who? If not now, when? And this is exactly where we are on circular economy. I only wanted to add, in addition to if not us, who? If not now, when? If not circular, what? And this is what we need to do. And as collaboration is the key to this, no single country, industry, or company can do it alone. And we need to do this because it is our generational responsibility. I know I have run out over time here. Guy is looking at me, he's very antsy. So I'm going to return the baton back to him.
You can have the whole afternoon if you want. It's,
No. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. Yeah. This is one of the rare occasions I have given all the time to a speaker because I know that he had a complete story to share. And I think this story is very essential for any questions you have and for the discussion for the rest of this conference. Next person is Freek. And Freek is a fellow Dutchman like Mike is. And Freek is one of the pioneers as well in circular economy because his Holland Circular Hotspot was where this whole international hotspot events started. And he started in the Netherlands about 9 years ago and then went to Europe. And now this is the first one in Asia. So that's great. We're moving into Asia with Hotspot, and that's due to Freek and his team and all the energy they have to preach the gospel of circular economy. But most of it is also to get people together, to get government, knowledge institutes, and corporates together. Make sure that we get new business venture, new idea, new innovations, and work internationally. So Freek, you've been traveling. We're on Facebook together, so every week I see him in Ethiopia or in Peru or other places. I said, are you ever working? No, I'm working actually. So he's working and in these countries. And And can you share with us what you have seen in terms of a bit higher over in terms of good practices in good governance on a national level, where you say, hey, we could learn from what's happening there, or these models work, these models doesn't work, a bit following the Bible that Charles showed us on the what direction we should go. What is your take on the good government from nationals?
Thank you, Guy. Dear friends, let me give it a try. Let me start close to home in my country, the Netherlands. The Netherlands is seen by many as a front runner. And it has to do also something with our mindset. We see circular economy as a necessity. We don't have another choice, like Charles basically is saying. But we also see it as a business opportunity. And we know that working on waste management is not enough. We know that already for 20 years probably. We can't simply recycle our way out of this. So it's a full value chain approach, from design to production to utilization to waste management. And let me go to slides as well. If you look at transition management, it's about an X-curve. It's as much as building something up, a desirable future, as it is breaking down an undesirable future, the linear economy. So new initiative, if we start on the lower left, a new regime, it's about experimentation, acceleration, emerging opportunities and scaling up. But if we keep on working in the same linear economy, it will never work. So we have to transition away from the old economy, and that's scary and politically highly dangerous and difficult. So, but if we do not, let's say, include externalities, if we have harmful subsidies which steer in the wrong way, or if we have, let's say, harmful substances which do not allow circulation, we're getting nowhere. So we have to build up. At the same time, we have to build down. So knowing this full value chain approach and two actions, who is responsible? Well, actually, all of us are responsible. This is public authorities, this is private businesses, this is citizens and consumers, and this is the knowledge community. We need everybody on board. And let me go through them one by one. Let's start with government at national level. So government, for me, is the guardian for the greater good. And normally we think government, regulation, but there's a lot more. Yes, government sets ambition, creates boundary conditions, allows for experimentation. So what they should do is, for instance, connect networks to collaborate in ecosystem, support innovations to scale, challenge industry to perform, but also improve impact, and regulate to an ambitious framework. That's at national level. Let's look at the place of action, regions, cities. That's where we work, that's where we live, that's where we interact, that's where we recreate. That's where the change really starts. It's not at the government level. It's really in the regions that you can make the difference. And regions map their potential. Where's the lowest hanging fruit? Where can we start? What is the impactful action? And they make roadmaps for action. And a roadmap at national level is good, you should have it, but typically not that actionable. But at regional level, you really can make the connections. Let me move to knowledge institutes. They provide us with facts and figures, valorizations of research. They give us new insights. It's probably 20% of technological innovation, but 80% is about social innovation. And now let's look at you and us, citizens, consumers. It's about society, as the professor from Tokyo said. Citizens, they vote for politicians who make rules, very important. Consumers buy products, so they vote for products which they want. So we need to involve them. And here, if I look in the room, the young generation, the leaders for tomorrow, the consumers of tomorrow, this is also about educating the future generation. But now let me move to the most important stakeholders, businesses. Because in the end, they show guts, they invest, and they scale up, they really scale up. That's why I'm here with a mission with Dutch businesses. We're here with 10 companies, and if you want to meet them, approach me, I can introduce them to them, because they are in the end, they make the connections. And they focus from a focus on initial waste management, they go to a focus on waste management in a value chain perspective, and then they realize it's not about waste, we have to go to new business models. And if they do it well, they can increase their revenue by platform models. They can give waste a second, a third, a fourth life. And it's about margin improvement. By working together, you reduce your risk. And less materials, less energy is also less cost. So it's a no-brainer, actually. And for a company, I like the former CEO of DSM, he said, how can you claim to be successful as a company in a society that fails? If there is no future, there is no future market. I will come back to that later. So with having said all this, how can we start this movement? Just classic top-down governance will not work. At the same time, you need bottom-up actions that the government can't do alone. You need all to work together. Some call this network governance. And who should start this transition? Well, actually, there's not a clear answer. It depends on your socio-economical condition. Probably in some countries, top-down action is what works. Maybe a country like Vietnam, if the government is behind it, everybody else will follow. This might probably not work in Nigeria, where the action is predominantly coming from industry, institutions, NGOs, and they start a movement and they come up with ideas. The Netherlands is an example of public-private collaboration, where you find each other and walk side by side. Let me give the example of the Netherlands.
1 minute.
Yeah. So in Netherlands, after the first Circular Economy Hotspot event, we scaled up. We saw that there was a potential. We want to be fully circular in 2015, halfway in 2030. We set priority sectors. That means industry can follow. We also knew that sectors focus is not enough. We need to tweak the system. That's what we did. We started working with front runners, proving that it can be done, and now we moved up to a more obligatory setting, target-oriented, mandatory approach, mix of pricing, standard setting, and stimulation. One important aspect of the Dutch is also the mindset. Don't wait for a perfect world. We will all be doomed by that time. So pragmatics, learning by doing, learn fast, fail fast, you never lose. You win or you learn. And we'll keep it with that, dear moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faye. Let's move right into part 2, where we'd like to discuss with you a bit more in detail international collaboration. Charles already alluded to the CC4CC. He's going to talk about that in a minute. But I think we should first also listen to corporate, because there are a lot of challenges nowadays. We have the tariffs, and Taiwan is a manufacturing powerhouse, not only manufacturing here, but all over the world, in Asia. And so these companies are facing huge challenges in staying profitable. And so the role of supranational organizations, institutions like the EU or ASEAN, become critical in opening those doors and actually facilitating, making sure that we can still go to the next level of circularity, also on a corporate level. So Wei Wen, I would like to ask you, your business is for about 80% dependent on export markets. How do you see the governance role of these bodies like the EU? What kind of policies, what kind of carrots or sticks would help your company accelerate CE implementation? And what kind of international collaboration can overcome some of your key business challenges that you're facing right now?
Thank you, Guy, giving me this opportunity to list some of my wishes. First of all, Taiwan is in a relatively challenging condition as we consider this cross-border geopolitical collaborations. Taiwan is literally cut off by almost all these platforms. I recall maybe APEC is one of the few left. Taiwan is still a former member economy. Despite of all that, I do have 3 wishes. First is the policy alignment. Clear and harmonized guidelines on circular content, waste classification, and extended producer responsibility would lower transaction costs and uncertainty for cross-border circular projects. My second wish is trade facilitation. Many circular models depend on moving recovered solvents or byproducts across economies. We need streamlined customs and safety rules so that circular materials can move easily as raw materials. Third of my wishes is leadership through public procurement and financing. If all member economies of APEC will reform procurement rules, for example, adopting circular utility services or preferring low-carbon materials, governments would create immediate demand pool for industrial transformation. So in short, we do need supranational governments that connect policy, trade, and finance, turning circular economy from isolated projects into a shared regional value chain. Thank you.
Thank you, Wei Wang. Again, we're going to go to, we have some, I'm rushing now because I would like to do the Q&A and hear your voice as well. I go briefly to Freek on the European level because you have been a co-chair of the coordination group of EU Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform for the last 5 years. You've seen many CE policy initiatives. How can Asia Pacific work with the EU? In which areas you see opportunities? And should this be, for instance, included in existing bilateral or multilateral trade dialogues or other existing cooperation agendas? What is your view on this?
Right, let me get to share a slide. I don't know if I can get it. Last slide of my... So if you look at, let's say, what's happening in Europe and Europe's ambition towards 2050, if you believe in circular economy or not, it will be a regulatory reality. If you look at the European Green Deal about energy, transportation, mobility, renewable energy, that's being transformed in strategies, in policies, in regulation, directives. This will be the reality for everybody who's working and living in Europe. All these green dots are different plans and actions with targets. We have to comply to it. But it's not only us. Everybody who trades with Europe will be impacted by this. So this will affect you, and it's better to be prepared there as well. If you look at the trade complex, we have seen with COVID, but also the Ukraine-Russia war, that access to resources cannot be taken for granted. The impact is tremendous. Doing more of the same simply cannot be the answer. We see that trade is becoming, let's say, more geopolitical, more fragmented, more, let's say, less predictable. So we have to find new analysis. Global value chains will probably be more regional and connected with these global value chains. Now, if you look at Europe and Taiwan, we have a tremendous dependency on critical raw materials. And what can you do if you have critical raw materials? Yeah, you can open new mines, it takes typically 10, 15 years. Diversify to new suppliers, still a little bit limited. You can build a stockpile. Most companies in Europe have maybe 6 months to 2 years stockpile. But your business is for the next 30, 20 years, your investment. So circular economy is here a no-regret scenario. So keep in the loop what you have. And this is where we have to work together. I think this is more about the right to copy and collaborate than it's about copyright. And I think this is something which should be a place of action. Europe has the CHIPS Act, the Critical Raw Material Act. I think at the level of the ASEAN, the APEC, we should probably have something as well, and we should collaborate. And that's my call to action, actually.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Charles, the last point in your story was about collaboration. And in particular, the collaboration for climate crisis, the circular CC4CC concept. Could you, in a few minutes, share that concept in a bit more detail? And maybe also a suggestion, and I think that's very important. Today we want to come to action, your call to action on the topic of governance and how can we together co-create better governance models that we can use amongst ourselves.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you, the other moderator, the other participants of this discussion. Before I talk about CC for CC, if you look around today's sort of businesses and how they operate, especially the existing supply chain, which I refer to as a linear supply chain, it's about brand owners and try to squeeze as much out of the product manufacturer, OEM manufacturers, and manufacturers try to squeeze out of, the component manufacturers, and all the way down to perhaps the landmines in India or in South Africa. Throughout that process, the primary benefactors seemed like everyone. However, it was in a very extractive form of economy, whereas on the surface it looked like a good collaboration, but it's not inclusive collaboration. It's more of extractive, superficial collaboration. You have winner and loser. And this is one of the reasons why the linear supply chain is not sustainable, is not resilient. So because of that, we think it's very important we really sit down and talk about collaboration. In this case, it's not about quote-unquote linear collaboration. It's about circular collaboration. Now, in response to to a specific response to Guy's question about calling for actions, I have prepared. You guys were wondering that I'm so prepared. I have 2 pages. Can you show me I'd like to share a couple more additional slides about.
Call to action. Yeah.
Okay, call to action. Yes. Okay. I think I mentioned in my earlier presentation or discussion the need to align existing frameworks, be it in EUs or NGOs, with circular trilogy. Mind you, the way I look at circular trilogy is, it sounds very simple. It's very generic, actually. It's very original. So it's nothing sophisticated about it. Just begin with good ideas, and through good governance, you come up with good businesses. And we hope that kind of trilogy becomes a shared language and shared aspiration among the community or the circular community. So more specifically, my action is to call for the existing framework designers, okay, to work with us together on circular trilogy, and which means they need to move beyond borders. EU need to move beyond borders. In other words, if you were to devise any legislations, any regulations, talk to the producers, talk to the consumers, not just with the interests of EU in mind. It needs to be collective to be sustainable. And beyond finance, it's not just about money. A lot of companies, at least my experience, for them to transition to circular or embrace circular good ideas, it's not just about the money, and which I will talk about a little bit later. We need to be more systematic, holistic about those tools and levers to ensure the businesses have the incentive. And finally, to move beyond carbon. As I mentioned in the previous session, it's not just about carbon emission. It's the crisis we have today is more than that. So more specifically, there are 2 things that I'd like to ask everybody's advice, perhaps participate in the discussion. The first one is align cross-border. It has to be cross-borders. We can't do anything by ourselves. The good governance we talked about, and by, like I said, include or introduce the concept of circular trilogy. Now, the idea behind that is turning a fragmented policy making to a more systematic and less silo-driven framework. And the second point here is that the business is only driven by incentives. Okay, I go around give speeches quite a bit, and most businesses ask the questions, can I make money? So money is important. But the problem today is that a lot of companies, when they do ESG as an example, they create a lot of external benefits. But those benefits will not be seen in their financial statements. It would only appear as so-called disclosure on the financial statements, on the annual report. So we have this concept about circular PPP, public-private partnership, which means the government and the private sector need to work together in a circular way. So we think to incentivize companies with good ideas need to have the sort of organization or the support of the government to ensure we have a more holistic circular PPP. Now, I would like to point out that underlining circular PPP is that in addition to what I call the sticks, regulations, compliance issue, we need incentives. In other words, we need sticks, but more importantly, a more resilient, incentive-driven, what I call the benefits or the carrots. Second
Thank
page.
you, Charles.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
Not yet. Second page. Not yet. I'm sorry.
Try to
Since I'm
cut
here,
in.
anyway. Second page. 下一张. No, this is very important. I will not spend too much time on this. 30 seconds on this chart. This is a very important part of what we call the governance. Okay, cross-border governance. Two areas. The policy, in other words, between the governments. Okay, I think we won't talk about it as part of the sort of dialogues between nations. And there are 6 policy levers. Okay, and I will only just mention 2 as an example. You guys can follow up in the future. The first one is that we need to remove the obstacles or legal and administrative obstacles for companies. That's number one. Because until today, most of the rules and regulations, administrative guidelines are designed with linearity. You have to start afresh with circularity. On the other side, 10 seconds, international sides, there are 3 dialogues we need to work together. Our current multilateral or bilateral trade talks are generally linear in context and also in communication. In other words, our existing political economic trade dialogue actually create more problems than it try to solve from the point of reducing externalities. Spirit. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. We have time for one question, but we still have 2 days to ask questions to Charles. He will be around. I have a couple of questions here. One is about accountability. What is the role of design in circular economy? Who can I give the floor for that? Freek.
Well, I think it all starts with design. In the design phase, you can probably phase out 80% of the environmental impact. So, yes, design is crucial because you can incorporate everything in it. So that's a short answer.
I see. Yeah, Charles.
I think I echo what Freek had to say, with the exception that sometimes when we talk about design, we only talk about product design. But from circular perspective, you have to redesign your business model, redesign your needs. That's where, in the broader sense, what design meant to me.
Yes, and some of the other questions, actually, if you are joining the sessions this afternoon, they're about finances and all that. Accountability, I think there's a session on accountability, transparency, performance, risk. Let's leave those ones for the session this afternoon. I would like to do a similar thing as earlier this morning, to have your 1 or 2 words on a question. And the question is, so go to your QR code and type in 1 or 2 words on the question. What is the key factor to initiate circular collaboration? What is the key factor? We see some coming up. Law, rethink. Another code. Awareness of law. Can somebody comment on law in the panel? Maybe Charles again on law, because if you want to cooperate, there are all kinds of laws that are national laws, but there are international conventions.
Yeah, I will comment a little bit, and also as a follow-up to what Minister Peng mentioned earlier about Taiwan's move toward drafting a new law called Resource Circulation Promotion Act. Law is very critical, and this weaves into what I mentioned earlier about the 6 policy level, the first one. It's about, on the negative side, it's about removal of obstacles, legal and administrative obstacles. But on the positive side, it's creating something new. I always tell people that if you want to change, you create something new to gradually replace the old. So more specific to the question about law, we think in the future on circular economy, we need to have not just what I call the compliance or regulatory laws. We need incentives for companies. There are companies who respond only to sticks. But what I found is more people are responsive to what I call the incentives. And a specific example, in the context of a circular economy, since there is no waste, therefore we should treat waste legally as resources, which means it's not about penalties. You should refrain from having excessive penalties for people who created waste. Instead, encourage them to look at them as resources whereby you actually buy them rather than charge them for processing fees. These are specific examples we've been talking about.
Yeah, and if you look, you mentioned incentives, but money is clearly the winner here. Who wrote down money? Please raise your hand. I'm not going to pointing at you. Only one, but it's clear the winner. Yeah, and I like people. Who typed in people? Yeah, I think that's a very good one. You need people and the willingness, I think, as well to cooperate. And trust internationally is definitely a key thing. And I think Wei Wang also alluded to it. Yes, thank you very much for this exercise. We come to the end of this session, and I have the difficult task of summarizing it, which I will not do. I will ask again the team to pop up to show the slide that Charles showed, the call to action. I think that's a good one to come back to. Of course, there are a couple of general takeouts. I think that good government implies a comprehensive and balanced set of rules and regulations. And the rules and regulations are quite different at the different levels of governance, corporate, national, supranational. Circular triology is needed, and that was very clear today. And it is a basis for circular collaboration internationally. And so, coming back on the points that were raised by Charles, the public-private partnerships is extremely important. I would like to give one thought or one impression that I will never forget the rest of my life. That was 10 years ago, and the Prime Minister of the Netherlands was talking to us civil servants, together, I think Freek was there as well. And he said, a group of entrepreneurs, big companies, Philips, Unilever, Shell, believe, were knocking on his door. You know, the Dutch government is in the middle of The Hague, and they have this 13th century, 14th century old buildings, and the Prime Minister lives in a tiny little tower. It's literally called the Little Tower. And they were knocking on his door and said, you need to listen to us. I said, oh, come in. What are you talking? We're going to tell you about circular economy, and he, because of this group of entrepreneurs that came in and asks, coming back to the point of Mike, you have to ask, and then the Dutch will do it. This whole thing started, and there was a raw materials agreement, and so if it comes from industry, and so that's why people like Wei Wang are so extremely important, because we're living in a time with different political movements. I put it very diplomatically. And so if government is not pushing hard enough, then NGOs and business should push harder, and you can really make a difference in putting circular economy higher on the agenda and going to the next level. So these were my 50 cents. I would like to thank these wonderful panelists for their contribution. Please give a big round of applause to Charles, Freek, and Wei Wang. And thank you so much for your input. I'm looking forward to the next 2 days to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Could I also have a round of applause for Guy, please? Because he forgot about himself. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Until tomorrow afternoon, this is the last plenary moment we have. So I need to talk you a bit through the rest of the program. Otherwise, you're maybe a bit at a loss. So in terms of content, we're going to have 3 different tracks. And many of the topics that have already been mentioned in the various panel discussions this morning will return in the tracks. For instance, tomorrow morning, financing and accountancy. How can we do accountancy differently so that value is attributed in a different way, which helps circular business models? Tomorrow, also in the morning, EPR systems have been mentioned this morning. What works, what doesn't work. This afternoon, we're going to focus on the 6 specific industries that Minister Pong mentioned. So the different agriculture, construction, which is a huge sink of carbon and of materials, high-tech and electronics, textiles, plastics. That's this afternoon. All of that takes place in 3 tracks, ladies and gentlemen. So you will find the tracks in your program. Track A will take place in here. So those of you who either today or tomorrow have a session in track A, this is your place. For track B, you need to take the elevator down and go into the hotel, which is around the corner. That's track B. You can see it on the map there. So the red bit there in the S-Light Hotel on the 2nd floor. For track C, you need to weather the rain. Briefly, you need to go across the square where you got together yesterday morning for the site visits. So that is in the Songchang Cultural and Creative Park, also on the 2nd floor. Okay, so tracks A, B, and C are in different places. And then tomorrow afternoon, we're all going to be back here at 4:45 for the closing. And that is the next plenary moment, when we will have the honor of having the President Lai, with us here. Later today, after track A, in this room, there is the session called Business Matchmaking. Some of you have already registered for that, so you have a registered appointment. However, if you also want to join the session on business matchmaking, just because you want to see if you can meet new people that you can connect with, we have a special format to allow you to do that. It's a format based on serendipity. I'm not going to tell you what it is now, but I will tell you this afternoon. Good, that's at 4:30 in here. Now, before I tell you the arrangements for lunch, this morning, several of you, while waiting at the elevator, you received a note from one of the children who were later on stage. Who of you received a note? Can you show me the note? There were 100 notes. Okay, Guy's got one, the ladies over here. Yeah, you've got these notes, drawings, wishes from the children. These are the sort of thing that you can talk about during lunch. These are the wishes of the children, made on their copybook pages, folded together and handed to you as part of what they want to ask you to pay attention to in the next 2 days. So it's a great moment to interact with other people. Some of these notes are in English, many of them are in Mandarin. If you happen to be from abroad and you received one in Mandarin, go to a Mandarin speaker and ask them what it means. All right? Good conversation topic. Google will help, but not enough. Not enough. They're handwritten, so it doesn't work. Also, these notes again denote one of the things that are vital in this program. We said this morning, and it was repeated in the panel, no one can do this alone. It is a Herculean task to make the changes in the economy. We have to do it together. For that, we need to talk to one another. We need to get into dialogues. Each of the sessions have been specially designed to create those dialogues. Now, a dialogue requires at least 2 people. So one of these people is going to be you. So talk to one another. Contribute your views. Make sure that together these 2 days are not going to just be watching television with people on stage who think that there is answers. Some of the answers need to come from you, and you need to develop them together with others. And that is your responsibility these 2 days. I can't say this clearly enough. Thank you for doing that and listening to me. Now, about the lunch boxes. I've already mentioned a couple of the circular features in what has been organized. Your lunch boxes are available in the back there, in the colors of our logo, and at the entrance at the elevator. You can pick up a lunchbox. These lunchboxes are reusable, but they're reusable in here, not at home. So you're not supposed to take them with you. You're supposed to just leave them behind. We will make sure that any food which is left, which of course, if you've listened to your parents, no food should be left, but okay. Any food that is left will be recycled. The boxes will be washed in here for reuse tomorrow. So you will see your lunchbox back tomorrow afternoon, thoroughly cleaned here to reduce the transportation kilometers. Make sure you close the lid. You can just put the cutlery or the eating utensils inside. It'll all be taken care of. Clear to everyone? Good. Over there and over there. If you are in track B and you find that it's a bit busy here, you can take your lunchbox with you. They will also be collected at the S-Light Hotel next door. There's lots of other circular features. Yes, you just go on the map, you go downstairs, go outside, turn right, get the elevator inside the S-Light Hotel, go to the 2nd floor, and there's room there to both eat and do your sessions in track B. Thank you. If you have time during lunch, it's a good moment to visit some of our partners who have interesting features. You can sign up even for buying a t-shirt there, I've been told. Then check out the furniture, for instance. Those cubes which are on the extremities, these are interesting. These are all recycled materials which are now furniture. Once they don't look good anymore as furniture, they will end up as beach houses. So the whole life cycle of that material has already been planned. They will end up somewhere accommodating people who want to take baths in the Pacific Ocean. And then finally, let me see what I might be forgetting. That's it. Lunch is until 1:30. Each track starts on time, so between now and 1:30, at some point you need to go, if you are in tracks B and C, to one of those other venues which are on the map. You can also find them in the app, in the web app that you have on your phones. Also, make sure that you read the QR code for the roadmap. And based on what you've already learned this morning, please choose one of the topics which are in the app for the roadmap and contribute your contributions, your ideas, your suggestions, your good experiences that you have for the benefit of policy making. That's it for now. I'm happy to see all of you back either later in the day here, because I'll be here in room A, or at the business matchmaking, or if not, tomorrow afternoon. Thank you so far, and enjoy the rest of the day.